Yeah, about to have me some duckton. What the what the heck? Where did he go? I had my mouth. What the
Do you really believe that garbage?
It's not about believing, it's a matter of fact.
So you believe.
Well, nobody else could make a decision but me because I was the president. The final decision comes to the president.
You know, it's easy enough for a Monday morning quarterback to say what the coach should have done after the game's over. But when the decision is up before you, and on my desk I have a motto which says the buck stops here, the decision has to be made.
And so, my fellow Americans, ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country.
And I want to say this to the television audience. I made my mistakes, but in all of my years of public life, I have never profited from public service. I've earned every cent. And in all of my years of public life, I have never obstructed justice. And I think, too, that I could say that in my years of public life, that I welcome this kind of examination, because people have got to know whether or not their president's a crook. Well, I'm not a crook. I've earned everything I've got.
President?
Yep.
Mr. President, I want to raise an issue that I think has been lurking out there for 2 or 3 weeks and cast it specifically in national security terms. You already are the oldest president in history, and some of your staff say you were tired after your most recent encounter with Mr. Mondale. I recall yet that President Kennedy had to go for days on end with very little sleep during the Cuba Missile Crisis. Is there any doubt in your mind that you would be able to function in such circumstances?
Not at all, Mr. Truitt, and I want you to know that also I will not make age an issue of this campaign. I am not going to exploit for political purposes my opponent's youth and inexperience.
And I'm the one who will not raise taxes. My opponent now says he'll raise them as a last resort or a third resort. But when a politician talks like that, you know that's one resort he'll be checking into. And my opponent won't rule out raising taxes, but I will, and the Congress will push me to raise taxes, and I'll say no. And they'll push, and I'll say no. And they'll push again, and I'll say to them, read my lips. No new taxes.
Oh, shit. Here we go again.
You're full of shit.
All right, thank you.
Now, shush. Shush.
In any country, prison is where society sends its failures.
everybody in this country, society itself is failing.
I'd like to punch him in the face, I'll tell you.
We won the evangelicals. We won with young. We won with old. We won with highly educated. We won with poorly educated. I love the poorly educated.
Look at you crazy.
Grab him by the pussy.
I did not have sexual relations with that woman.
Shut your mouth, because you don't know what you're talking about. Yes, I did.
Hold it, tough guy. I'm not afraid of physical. Hold it.
Don't sit there and tell me I'm not.
There's an old saying in Tennessee, I know it's in Texas, probably in Tennessee, that says, fool me once, shame on you. You fool me, we can't get fooled again.
They're bringing drugs. They're bringing crime. They're rapists. And some, I assume, are good people. Stand back and stand by. Will you shut up, man?
Last thing was Olivia Gondak. It says that I wanted to eat her pussy. Olivia Gondak. I've never said that in my life tour. I would never do that. I'm happily married. I've got more than enough to eat at home. Thank you very much.
You got to come see us when you come to New York, VP Biden.
I will.
It's a long way until November. We got more questions.
You got more questions, but I tell you, if you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, then you ain't black.
Okay. I could stand in the middle of Fifth Avenue and shoot somebody, and I wouldn't lose any voters, okay? It's like incredible. I went to an Ivy League school. I'm very highly educated. I know words. I have the best words. We now have a gun on every table. We're ready to start shooting.
By the way, maybe you could inject some bleach in your arm, and that would take care of it. This is the same man.
Sarcastic.
That was...
Even though they're trying to impeach the son of a bitch. Can you believe that? You believe that? That's enough. Put down the mic.
Mr. President, are you worried about indictments coming down in this
I'd like to
investigation?
punch him in the face, I'll tell you.
If I may ask
Peter,
one other
go ahead.
question, are you worried?
That's enough. That's
Mr.
enough.
President, I was going to ask one other.
I don't want reality. I'm asking the question, which one is better? That's exactly what it is.
Got it on tape.
What a stupid son of a bitch.
I don't like words that hide the truth. I don't like words that conceal reality. I don't like euphemisms or euphemistic language. And American English is loaded with euphemisms because Americans have a lot of trouble dealing with reality. Americans have trouble facing the truth. So they invent a kind of a soft language to protect themselves from it. And it gets worse with every generation. For some reason, it just keeps getting worse.
How stupid are these politicians to allow this to happen?
If you want to run your mouth, we can be two consenting adults. We can finish it here.
Okay, that's fine. Perfect.
You want to do it now?
I'd love to do it right now.
Well, stand your butt up then.
You stand your butt up.
Oh, hold on.
Big guy.
Oh, stop it.
Is that your solution, every poll?
No, sit down. Sorry, Eric. Sit down. Look at you.
You're saying it's a falsehood, and they're giving Sean Spicer, our press secretary, gave alternative facts. Alternative facts. Alternative facts. Alternative facts.
All right, here we go again. Good evening, everyone. This is Van Cat back for another TFP Tuesday, and I'm joined on the panel with MD20. What's going on, MD?
Peace. What's going on? What's happening?
All right. So, this week, just like many others, it's a very busy week. But in the political news, we'll get into that. But before we get into that, we'll go into our top story, which today we're going to be focusing on the Trump and Epstein connection. So Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein, they have a past, and there have been things that have been overlooked over the last few years and decades. So let's take a look back, courtesy of the Midas Touch Network. They did a nice piece, so we want to take a look at some of that footage there.
We've been covering here at the Midas Touch Network how Donald Trump's secrets from the past are now resurfacing. It's a 1997 article from London's Sunday Mirror. And you see the photo right there, party girl Anushka. And here's the article. Just weeks after ditching his second wife, referring to Marla Maples, America's best-known billionaire Donald Trump has fallen under the spell of a 20-year-old English girl. Trump, 50, who has failed in his bid to secure the services of Princess Diana's butler, Paul Burrell, was in search of another British trophy when he met London model Anushka de Georgia at a party in Manhattan. Several American millionaires already had their eyes on Anushka, but she was there with Robert Maxwell's daughter, Ghislaine, who has introduced several of her attractive friends to the property developer. And none of his would-be rivals owned a vast mansion in Florida like Donald does, Mar-a-Lago, where I have dined with him and his outgoing wife, Marla, is enough to make any young girl go weak at the knees. After their meeting, Trump flew Madame Maxwell and the model, referring to Anushka de Georgia, south to the Sunshine State, where all three enjoyed a happy weekend together. When they returned to New York, Anushka was installed in one of Donald's many apartments there. It says that Donald Trump installed Anushka, a 20-year-old, in one of his many apartments in New York after Ghislaine Maxwell introduced her to Donald Trump. So I wanted to dig deeper. I mean, this is a pretty creepy story. Anushka, 20 years old, like what is going on here? So I looked up an article about who is Anushka de Georgia, and let me show you right here. Here's an article that I found. How a British teen model was lured into Jeffrey Epstein's web. Anushka de Georgia, who grew up in an affluent family, says she fell into Epstein's circle of abuse through well-connected friends. Anushka de Georgia was living a charmed life in the mid-1990s. A teenage model from an affluent family in London, she had a future as bright as her megawatt smile. But then de Georgia got sucked into Jeffrey Epstein's orbit through well-connected friends. They met for the first time in London. In time, she was being flown to Epstein's properties around the world, including his private island in the Caribbean on flights he paid for. The grooming, de Georgia said, was subtle but persistent and pervasive. By the time I was being raped, it was too late, de Georgia, recounting the details of her experience for the first time, told NBC News as part of a months-long Dateline investigation. The abuse, de Georgia said, spanned several years and locales. In addition to the estate on his private island, de Georgia said Epstein preyed on her at his homes in New York and Paris. And in every location, there was this microcosm of acceptance of, yes, people who acted like this was normal, de Georgia said. If you're a young person walking into a mansion or someone's island and all the people who are present are acting as though this is okay and you're the only one who thinks it's weird, it's hard to say something, de Georgia told Savannah Guthries. If you look at the time when all of these photographs of Donald Trump and Epstein were taken, you take a look at this photo. Look at the date, 1997, which is the same date as that article that I read for you at the outset of this video from the Sunday Mirror, November 23rd, 1997. And this is from Palm Beach, Florida, 1997. Jeffrey Epstein left and Donald Trump as they posed together at their Mar-a-Lago estate. Now, we've also reported here, and it's been reported elsewhere, Donald Trump has appeared on the flight logs of Jeffrey Epstein's private jet over 7 times. You can see Donald Trump's name right there. In the newly released deposition transcripts that just came out, you can see that Jeffrey Epstein would bring women to Donald Trump's properties and say he was calling Donald Trump up. I mean, this is what the deposition states from one of Epstein's victims. Answer. Or question, how did it come to be that you were in a casino in Atlantic City? Answer, as we were flying, Jeffrey said, why don't you go sit in the cockpit to check out the landing? So we were sitting there, and the pilots told me to go back and tell him that we can't land in New York and that we were going to have to land in Atlantic City. Jeffrey said, great, we'll call up Trump and we'll go to, I don't recall the name of the casino, but we will go to the casino. That was from a deposition transcript. Posted this photo of Donald Trump with someone by the name of Paolo Zampoli, which is a weird photo that got me thinking and going down this whole. I'm like, who's this person that Donald Trump is taking the photo with and hanging out with all night? And you see Donald Trump has this kind of weird El Dolce, Mussolini kind of look to him. It's a very strange photo. So I looked into, okay, who's Paolo Zampoli? And then Paolo Zampoli ran a modeling agency in New York in the mid 1990s, where he would bring foreign women into the United States, and they would become models for his modeling agency. And then he would throw events at clubs, like one club was called the Kit Kat Club, where he threw these frequent events, and he would invite wealthy men to meet these models. And one of the models, these foreign models who came to the United States, was Melania Trump. When? In 1998. So 1997, Trump, Anushka. 1998, you have Melania, Trump meets Melania at the Kit Kat Club, introduced by Paolo Zampoli right there. And then Donald Trump ends up getting Melania a genius visa. And Melania becomes a citizen on an expedited basis right there. Teen models, powerful men, and private dinners. When Trump hosted, this is what it looked like. And it talks about how in the early 90s, again, all around this time period I'm talking about right now, downstairs, a party was in flow, scores of teenage girls in evening dresses and miniskirts, some as young as 14, danced under disco lights. It could have been a high school prom were it not for the crowd of older men surrounding them. As the evening wore on, some of the men, many old enough to be the girls' fathers or even grandfathers, joined them on the dance floor, pressing themselves against the girls. One balding man in a suit wrapped his arms around two young models, leering into a film camera that was documenting the evening. Can you get some beautiful women around me, please? That man said. The party aboard the Spirit of New York was one of several events that Donald Trump, then 45, attended with a group of 58 aspiring young models that September. They had traveled from around the world to compete in Elite's Look of the Year competition, an annual event that had been running since 1983. You've got parties at the Kit Kat Club with Paolo Zampoli. You've got elite management parties on yachts with girls as young as 14, with old men grinding on 14-year-old girls, and Donald Trump is attending these yacht parties.
Marika Chartouni, Anushka DeGiorgio, and Rachel K. Benavidez sharing their stories about Epstein for the first time on television.
I think the nature of this kind of abuse means that you're conditioned to be silent, to be isolated, secretive, and shameful.
I feel like, it was a big game for him. And we were the pieces of his game. And you're like, I'm just not going to say anything because that's what he told me to do.
The women all have familiar stories of grooming, promises, and then sexual assault.
I can relate to pretty much every person sitting here next to me.
Virginia Roberts-Giuffre says Epstein associate Ghislaine Maxwell recruited her one summer when she was working as a locker room attendant at Mar-a-Lago. In her first broadcast interview, Virginia tells NBC News what she has previously alleged in court filings, that Epstein directed her to also have sex with a number of powerful men, among them Britain's Prince Andrew.
And now, with all of that as background, take a look at what Donald Trump said in 2002 to New York Magazine about Jeffrey Epstein, saying that Epstein was a terrific guy and noted his penchant for pursuing women on the younger side. You've now seen all of the video. You've seen those articles. After all of that, Donald Trump knows all about that, about Epstein. And in 2002, Donald Trump says the following: I've known Jeff for 15 years. Terrific guy, Trump told New York Magazine, quote, he's a lot of fun to be with. It's even said that he likes beautiful women as much as I do, and many of them are on the younger side. With all of that you just saw, that was Donald Trump's statement in 2002. So as you see then the other victims that are all together, then you have Virginia Giuffre, who's very well known and experienced horrors. I never realized, I don't know if you realized, I never realized that Virginia Giuffre was working at Mar-a-Lago, and that's where Epstein met Giuffre. and all of what we've since learned and the horror and tragedy that Jafari's been through, she was met by Epstein at Mar-a-Lago, and the same way that the way Donald Trump met Anushka was through Ghislaine at some of these other parties that were taking place. All of that is right here in front of our eyes. You know, and again, why do I bring this up now? Because to me, number one, moral character is everything. It's everything right now. It's when you see this behavior by Donald Trump and you see this past, I'm sorry, we should not ignore this behavior. Of course.
Okay, so we go from grinding on 14-year-olds at these parties that they throw to those nasty-looking eyebrows of Donald Trump. What what do we think, Ricardo, about that piece talking about the different connections with Epstein and Trump's past?
Pleasant evening, everyone. Yeah, that was a lot to digest in terms of what was shared information-wise. None of it surprises me, though. Sad to say, but the connection between Trump and Epstein has always been there, as well as a number of other well-known, publicized people that we are aware of or know of. Bill Gates, former President Bill Clinton, a number of people. Prince. They said it was Prince Edward, one of the royal family members. A whole bunch of people. So Epstein had a string of connections that went beyond anything that we know of, and it's one of them things where if you really dig deep, it's like a rabbit hole that you just keep, you literally have to like dissect and go through the amount of connection that he had from not just world leaders, not just well publicized celebrities, but also religious people as well, like people in the Arab sections of the Catholic Church. There's so much connections there. If you were to make a movie, it still wouldn't make sense because it wouldn't be believable. But that's how well connected he was. To see former President Donald Trump try to separate himself now from this whole thing of a debacle that we see snowball into what we see it is now is it's not really surprising, but very shocking at the same time, because you can't escape the pictures that we see. Like, there's no alternative universe that's going to make you think we won't connect or put the dots together. You and him were very good friends, not even close friends, very good friends. In fact, there's so many people that if they were to do a court case, will tell you the connections. Now, if he pays these people off to keep quiet or numb, or not numb, but mum on the situation, then that's a different story. Or if you force them to do an NDA. But it's not surprising. I think there's more to come. I think what we need to follow up on, because I find it's very strange, was during the pandemic when when we found out the news reports that he died or reportedly murdered, allegedly, in prison. I just find it very alarming that everything just disappeared right after that. And it was during the height of the pandemic, if everyone remembered. He was supposedly in his cell, and next thing you know, he was killed, or he wasn't. They didn't say he was killed, but apparently was found hung in his jail by suicide. Nobody believes that. Not one single person that you talk to will believe that, because that's a farce. And it's not believable. What I think happened is there's a number of things happened, but no one seems to be talking about it. I don't know why it's like all of a sudden silent, but this is where I think we need to follow up on as for why that is. And how are you in a jail cell and allegedly and supposedly all the cameras that will connect to the cell just mysteriously disappeared that night? No one seems to know why. No one seems to know how. And this is a federal prison, I believe. So nothing makes sense. Not one thing. But all we know is somebody really wanted him silent. Someone took him out. The question is how, why, who. So the who, what, when, why, and how needs to be connected now. And as for how he's connected to former President Trump, because remember this was in the height of Trump's presidency, why is it that no one seemed to have follow up on that and it just disappeared overnight? So that's where I'm more interested in, as for how deep Trump was in terms of Epstein and what it is that he would have had leverage over him for. That's where I'm curious and what I want to find out more about.
Those are excellent points, Ricardo. MD, what's your take here on the Trump Epstein connection, and any commentary on the piece that we just saw?
Yeah, so my whole thing with Jeffrey Epstein, like I never like put too much stock in it from a political connection standpoint, even though he dealt with a lot of people that were in politics. As far as I know, like, and I saw the question that Maria G posted. I mean, like he was literally like a right place, right time type person. Remember, this dude started off as a teacher. You know what I'm saying? Like he wasn't meant to be much. You know what I mean? But by the grace of whatever higher power that you may believe in, he got a job basically as an accountant for like a huge investment firm. You know what I mean? And that's how everything started with the fortune that he ultimately garnered. You know what I mean? And he was able to basically borrow the hell out of money to the point where he was actually making money through borrowing. And later on, come to find out, a lot of the banks that were lending him money were also profiting on kickbacks with the whole sex trafficking thing. But that's a whole different story for a different day. As far as Trump goes, I mean, people with money, they associate with each other. You know what I mean? So we already know what type of person Trump is. Trump, I mean, hell, he sat his own teenage daughter on his lap and said she was hot.
Very
So
disgusting.
what else should I expect? You know what I mean? As far as and I think we'll talk about it later on. As far as any misdoings when it comes to Trump dealing with the Epstein situation, it's funny to me how these MAGA maniacs they went through such of a point to try to show what other people were doing on Epstein Island. Like everybody made a big deal about the Clintons and blah blah blah, this and that. Again, it goes back to my point. Big money makes big plays. It don't really matter like what side of the aisle you're on in terms of that. At the end of the day, there is verifiable connection that Epstein was dealing with Trump through Mar-a-Lago, and in which women allegedly uh, were being sex trafficked and doing ill things in terms of that particular connection. So at the end of the day, if all else fails, you can connect that dot. Now, I saw what Trevor said about the whole moral character thing. I still don't put any emphasis on moral character because what are you basing that off? Last I checked, sex trafficking was illegal. You know what I'm saying? So if you're gonna base a moral character off what's law and what's not, okay, I give you that. But in any other sense, I don't. You know what I'm saying? I don't put any stock into it. Hell, some people just do horrible things in terms of what's lawful. So let's just leave it at that. Trevor like to get somebody engine going. It's all good. It's all good.
Oh, so MD, you had said when we did the Vince McMahon show about you see a lot of similarities with Vince McMahon and Trump.
Mm-hmm. Birds of a
Did
feather
you want
flock together.
to? Right. Did you want to elaborate more on that?
I mean, I see a lot of similarities in which and going back to normalizing social superiority. The clear indication of the similarity is power. Whereas Trump sees himself as a power figure in society, just like Vance. Trump can utilize his resources to basically allocate what he wants, whether that be physical in nature or communal in like stuff like assets and property, so on and so forth. So yeah, I mean they two peas in the pod at the end of the day. Trump and Vince. Now here's the difference, I would say. Because of the I guess you would say because of the business that Vince is in, Vince is more of a social peacock than Trump is on the inside. Now, not everybody knows Trump has a huge ego, but from the sense of I think how he deals with his insecurities is different from Trump. Whereas Trump can utilize his assets to obtain what he wants. I think Vince has a natural occurrence to do that all on his own, based on the power that he has. You see what I'm saying? If that makes sense. So if we gonna use the Epstein situation as an example, Trump, to me, he's not the type of person that can facilitate something like that. Whereas I believe Vince can.
You think Vince is more able to do that than Trump?
I'm talking about from the sense of being social, if that makes sense. I think Vince can independently socialize his exploits, whereas Trump, if that makes sense, whereas Trump, he's historically used other outlets for his dirty work. I mean, hell, pretty much all his wives, he didn't go and pull them women and say, "Hey, look, I got all this money." From Melania to Ivana,
that's true.
To the other one, they've all been through third party.
That's very true. Even with his policies with the Muslim ban that came from the.
There you go. Exactly.
Yeah, so that's very true what you're saying. Yeah.
I mean, you gotta, but the thing with Trump, though, you gotta understand, Trump is like an egomaniac. So, I mean, before all
so is Vince.
But I mean, that's what I'm saying. But with Trump was a little bit, I would say, a little bit more smarter with it, because Trump had other variety of stuff that he could tap into. No pun intended. Like he had the Miss Universe organization, the Miss Teen USA. He had a whole, but like there's a lot of stuff that Trump knew. And looking back, like he was smart in the sense of like, okay, so I could then buy a Miss Universe organization and then, go in. Because there's a number of stuff that I've heard throughout the years that didn't make sense to me looking back. But now when I connect the dots, I'm like, yeah, it seems plausible, because it's Trump we're talking about here. No one's going to go against the grain and say, oh, I'm going to talk bad about Trump when he owns that, like a Miss Universe organization that then owns Miss Teen USA and then whatever, or Miss USA pageant. It's like, for him, it was like, okay, I own all these things, but at the same time, I'm going to use it to my leverage. Why wouldn't you? You're a businessman. But you know what I'm saying? But he's not too far off from Vince in a sense that I get what MD's saying, but Trump is kind of, I wouldn't say he's not, I don't know. It's kind of like a 50-50 for me with the comparison between him and Vince, because it's just a matter of who had more access to more better leverage than then they're able to utilize that to the maximum power, or you know what I mean, like in the ability to try to gain more, I guess, more power to that sense. So Vince had WWE, but Trump had more extensions, if that makes sense, to get what he wants. And he knew how to go about doing it by just like extending his hands into various business pots that then helped him to facilitate what he got. And that's like the access to the women that he had. A lot of women. So, I mean, it's just a matter of how you look at it, apples and versus oranges kind of thing. If that makes sense.
Literal orange. It's a great point you make, MD. That's a great point. Because you could have the Miss America pageant, and then use that as a tool to allow you access to women. And it's a great point you're making there, Ricardo.
Basically, to put it in layman's terms, I feel Vince was more direct, whereas Trump was more indirect.
There you go. So okay, then that makes more sense. That makes more sense, MD, because then I agree with that point. because
Yeah, I agree too.
it's just a matter of, oh, hey, because you just never know what carrot he was dangling to the extension, because he could have been like, hey, if you do a little thing for me, I'll make you win the Miss Universe or the Miss USA pageant, and I'll make it look easy. And then Vince could have done the same thing where it's like, oh, hey, if you do this for me, I'll make you work for WWE. So it's just a matter of who had more, more of an extension of power that is able to extend in such a way where it's more of a direct. I think Vince would have been more direct, but Trump knew how to maneuver his way around certain things, if that makes sense, and get what he wanted, because he had the merchandise machine behind him. Not to say Vince didn't have that with WWE, but Trump had Trump Towers, Trump Air, which was like that Trump Air shuttle thing that he uses his now planes to fly around with, but then that went bankrupt. You had Trump Monopoly. You had all these things. If I remember in the 80s going into 90s, Trump was like a merchandise, fanatic. He was on every goddamn thing you could think of. And that's where you had these rappers singing about Trump, and so he was in movies too. So I mean, it's just a way of how you look at it, how he was able to leverage his merchandising power to extend his power and reach, is how I feel like Trump was able to get away with certain things. Whereas Vince was like, listen, I own WWE. I'm on, such and such, and him through entertainment more compared to Trump, which was real estate and yada yada yada.
Hey, I want to just give a shout out here to the chat. You got Mike in the chat, Maria G, Bones in the chat, Mr. Straight Talk. Thanks for tuning in. What about the MAGA perspective, and this whole thing of Pizzagate and how Democrats are pedophiles and running a pedophile ring, and this whole thing about protecting children and stopping the pedophiles and all these things. But yet you literally have a person that you're endorsing for presidency dealing with, in his own admission, younger girls and other nefarious things. So it just can't be, everything can't just be deflected. You can't just say one thing was one way and then the other is another. I don't know. What's your thoughts on that?
You can when you politicize it, and that's exactly what they did.
And when you put on a political blindfold over it, then yes, they're not gonna acknowledge certain things. So that's what's pretty much what's happening right now, is they're putting on this blindfold to say, oh, but he's not so, or they're gonna say, oh, they're coming after him. We don't care that's pretty much what they're doing. But at the same length of breath, if you're gonna put on a blindfold, you're being partial. You're not being impartial, and that's dangerous to me, because you're finding ways to come up for an excuse for him, whereas it's pretty much all the facts are laid out for you in layman terms. You just choose to ignore them, and that to me is not a good sign of you saying, okay, well, if right is right and wrong is wrong, that's what it is. It's more like, okay, well, it's always the Democrats doing that. You're deflecting, and that's not a good cause for your cause. It's like you're not listening. He did such and such. He did this with this person. What makes you think that he shouldn't be charged, or what makes you think he should be immune to certain things? He's not. He's not above the law, and that's my problem with the MAGA crowd. You're seeming to put on blindfolds as for why you put them on, to ignore certain things when people are literally telling you the straight facts. It's like, oh, but he's not a god. He's not a king. He's a regular human being. If you cut him with a knife, he is going to bleed. So I don't understand why it's like this mega worshiping of this man that is like any other person there is. But you seem to because you think that, again, and I blame the evangelicals, because y'all are not going to get away scotch-free. Come after me all you want. I want all that smoke. I still call you all out, because had you not put him on this pedestal that y'all put him on, now he's on this rampage of anything he says goes. That's not how that works. We don't. If I remember correctly, the United States made it clear they did not want a king to rule over this country. That's why they left. the United Kingdom. They and formed their own country. It's not a tyrant. It's not a dictatorship. It's a democracy. So I don't understand why the MAGA crowd is so fixated in making sure that they ignore every telling signs that's been put in place to state Trump has done certain things that are not, of great means, and they're like, oh, but it's made up, or it's not true. What, like, really? What are we doing, people? What are we doing?
So Maria G puts, what has Trump been charged with? Correct me if I'm wrong, but then we just witnessed Trump being found guilty for the rape and um, defamation for that lady. He had to pay 83, plus he had to pay another 7 million the first time. I mean, Trump has been charged and convicted of that. He's already lost that case. Not to mention all these other things that are swirling around that he's trying to delay. But yeah,
I mean, for the sake of the argument, if we're gonna keep to the issue of alleged sexual allegation, I mean, you got the Stormy Daniels, the hush money stuff going on. I mean,
right.
it's no secret of the sexual deviance. But again, once
The
you
play,
once you political,
Playboy playmate, Dougal, that lady
oh,
Dougal.
yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of them. It's not just, it's a lot.
But I mean, like I said again, no doubt. But when you politicize a certain situation and create a narrative, these are the things that tends to happen with the MAGA maniacs. When the Epstein list dropped, everybody was talking about, oh, look how many times Clinton was listed, blah blah blah, this and that. Look, here's Hillary. Here's what did he call her? I forget what he called Hillary Clinton, but Hillary Clinton's involved too.
Crooked
No
Hitler.
telling what she's done. Yeah, crooked Hillary Clinton. Yeah, and all this stuff.
Not the
At the
bird.
same time, there's an argument to be made that if we gonna play that game, the Clintons, yeah, we know that they got some underhanded stuff going on, like that. That's no secret as well. But there's an argument to be made that Epstein directly benefited from Trump based on the fact that Trump didn't have to go to the island as a guest. He was providing resources for the island, i.e., the stuff that happened at Mar-a-Lago, et cetera, et cetera. So which one's worse at the end of the day? See, we gotta put the blindfold on and carry the scale like the law was intended to be. When you politicize a situation to a point where, even like what Trevor just said, talking about quote unquote moral character and blah blah blah, this and that. At the end of the day, if you broke the law, you deserve to go. I don't care who you are. But call it down the middle of the plate. Stop playing the game of trying to make this person look good in a certain light and this person bad. It's all jacked up at the end of the day. The list provided. It's just as much as you can make a claim for the Clintons and blah blah blah. I can make that same claim with Trump, probably on a grander scale because he was directly tied to Mar-a-Lago and other events that Trump held. Like, what are we talking about here? It's all insane to me.
Yeah, very true. Very sad, really. Any other words on that one, Ricardo?
Yeah, I echo the same sentiments with MD. I mean, not for nothing. I mean, we're not gonna absolve the Clintons, because I'm sure there've been numerous reports of their alleged things that they've done, including like their foundation in Haiti and a number of other things. So and let's not forget the whole Bill Clinton,
Yeah, Bill is a freak. We already know that.
Right. So it's not like you already been known about it, but people people will forever choose to ignore certain things because it's not to their benefit. And again, if we're gonna do this, it becomes a problem, because it's like you're choosing to put on blindfolds as for why you're choosing to do that when facts are being laid out. Like, it's like being in a court and doing a deposition. You can't hide the fact that there's certain things that are being laid out in layman terms for you. It's just that people are choosing to put on blindfolds, and I'm not sure why they're choosing to do that when it's like laid out factually for you. So yeah, I mean, we could play that blame game like how the right and the left is doing it. Oh, but Hillary did this, and oh no, but Trump did this, and oh, it's a back and forth thing that is never ending. But when facts are laid out, I'm gonna call a spade and say it is what it is. It's just like, okay, so if tomorrow it comes out, just like when we found out about Bill Clinton and the whole Monica Lewinsky thing, everybody took their sides, but it was like, okay, but it happened. So you can't choose to ignore that in history. It's there. It's like no matter how much you try to do what Bill Clinton met up with whoever in the hotel room and whatnot, and who met who, it happened. Or what happened in the Oval Office, it happened. The same thing with Trump. Why did you go to Epstein's Island, and why did he come to Mar-a-Lago? What kind of negotiations went on, and why is it that you choose to hide that or redact it? It's like when you choose to do that now, we're opening the floodgates because we need to know why. But will we know? Probably not, because that's what lawyers are there for. But again, you could choose to do the blame game and choose to say, oh, the Clintons did what and who did what. I mean, it's a tit for tat thing. But yeah, we all know about what the Clintons did. It's just that Trump chose to hide what he did, and that's the problem. There's only so much you can hide before we need to now see or connect the dots, because there's so much that other people have done, but in his case, he makes himself look like a guardian angel, and we all know he's not.
Right. I
Definitely
remember
not.
I remember an interview. I forget the guy's name, but he was like one of the accountants, like accountant friend of Epstein or whatnot, and they were interviewing him. And he said a lot of stuff that Epstein did, he was just showing off at the end of the day. He liked to show off, he liked to gloat about the stuff that he had. He said the only person that he couldn't impress was Donald Trump. So I took that as, well, Epstein going to these events and going to Mar-a-Lago and stuff like that was to try to, I guess, show favor, you know what I'm saying, or garner favor in order to boost that ego. You know what I'm saying? That's how I always took it. I didn't really think nothing of it. Hell, you ain't got to go to Epstein Island to be implicated. And that's to Maria G's point when she asked the question, even though he didn't go to the island, why is he not connected? Well, I would argue that he is connected because Epstein came to him instead. So there you go.
Okay. And just want to say what Trevor just mentioned here. He's asking Maria G to get on the panel. So hey, Maria G, the invitation is open. We have the link in the chat. So if you want to come on the panel, we'll more than be happy to help you be on this panel. That's no problem. All right. So any other words on this topic?
Yeah, I'll say one more thing. It's funny how, like I said, again, this goes back to the whole politicizing argument. It's funny how the MAGA maniacs want to look at it one way. Anti-Trumpers want to look at it the other way. Last I checked, when I looked at the Epstein list, the person that was being insinuated the most as doing anything alleged was Prince Andrew. I don't hear nobody talking about him.
Yeah,
I know. It's like
So
killed.
he get a free pass, huh?
I know. It's so weird.
No, I'm going to explain to you why Prince Andrew is being redacted a lot. And the reason being is because the royal family has a way of, I don't know if it's if you know, it's because this is the same thing that Meghan Markle was talking about. They have the British press has been in cahoots with the royal family since the very beginning. So if you notice, there's certain things that's absolute power right there. You should always separate press from, and this is why we have in our constitution the way we have it. The press and politics should always be separate, no matter what.
Right.
But we all know in some way or form, there's always a connection at some point. What the royal family does is they sprinkle a little bit of a story here and there, and they go, all right, well, we'll show up here and we'll do this here, but you're gonna have to do it on our terms, in a way, like, so we'll speak bad about one royal family member, and then for the sake of the other one, we'll protect the other one. So you'll notice, like, if I can use an example, it will be like Prince William and Harry, where the two of them are brothers, but one gets more bad press than the other one because the other one is the future king of England. You're not going to speak bad about William. You know why? Because he's going to be the future king. The last thing you want to do is to speak badly about a future sovereign or monarch that's going to be in control or power of a country.
Exactly.
As the like of the United Kingdom. There's no way they're going to talk bad about him. Now, we saw what they did to his mother, though, or both of their mothers. I mean, and I'm gonna put on my tin hat and say, if you remember in 1997 when Princess Diana died, she was going for the juggler where she was against the anti-mines, and one of the places that she ended up going to most was where? Palestine. If you put the dots together, it was like, oh, if she was to really use the power that she had to leverage it, it would have been a problem for Israel. So I don't know if you want to put your tin hats together and say, all right, well, at some point in time, did MI6 out her out because she was a problem, or did the royal family did that? Then, you know, the connection is there, because though the Alpha had made that clear, he's like, there's no way they would have allowed a Muslim to be a part of the royal family. It's just a Christian, you know, family block like them, and then to use that, there's no way they would have connected it. So it's either they take her out or, you know, find some way. So that's just one thing. So I didn't want to go off a tangent with that. But the royal family has always been cahoots with the press, and the press have always been in cahoots with the royal family. They were going to protect Andrew no matter what. And this is why they did the whole story, and then it just went away, because for whatever the reason, if the royal family said, don't say this, the British press is not going to do it. It's just that there's such a respect between the two that they can't, if you break that accord, it's all floodgates are going to come flooding through. So they're not going to do it. So that's the reason I've heard about
What
it.
about freedom of press?
Yeah, there's
ain't no
thing.
they don't work in the UK.
Oh.
There's no
one of the greatest TV series of all time, The Crown on Netflix. Go watch that TV series.
Oh yeah,
it goes to the point that you just made, Ricardo. They had a whole cabinet just for press, just for press, and they will have meetings with the Queen, and they'll finagle the story like they was masters with it. Masters.
That's horrible. That's horrible, man.
So when you say freedom of press, there's no such thing, Van Cat. When it comes to the if you notice and MD is right. If you watch The Crown, they gave so much innuendos that even at one point in time, the royal family was like trying to like this whatchamacallit themselves from the whole series, because part of it is partially true. There's a lot of things that we never heard about when it came to the royal family, because they choose to have the press on their side. Now, as for how they're able to get away with that, no one seems to know. That goes to show that, you know, they will go to great lengths and means to protect that sovereign of a family. They're called a firm for a reason. If you ever hear the term of what they call the royal family, they're called the firm. Because if you go against the firm, they will do what they did to Meghan Markle, where they will come up with any mean of story to say, oh, but she did this and no, she did it. None of what they said about Meghan Markle was true. Not one blasted thing. But everybody chooses to believe it because what? We put them on such a high pedestal and high regard. And it's the royal family and the princess fairy tale story and all. It's bullshit. I can't even say the word. It's bull crap. None of it I believe. Not one thing. But Andrew, I've always said this, and this is why I don't understand, because before the Queen died, apparently they banned him from the royal family, but he still shows up in certain events. If you have been associated with sex trafficking or with pedophilia or anything of that sort, you should never be anywhere near anything that's remotely as highly regarded as the royal family. But they're going to protect him.
Yep.
Protect him. You know why? Because they have the absolute means to do so. Anybody else would be crucified, but this is the royal family we're talking about. So that's why. If you wanted to know why did you ever heard anything, because they chose to work hand in hand with the British press, and the British press said, hey, listen, you give us a little hindsight about what's going on with the family, we'll shut up. We won't talk about certain things. So give us a little piece of the carrot and dangle it when you dangle it, and we'll show up at wherever you want us to be, and we'll take pictures here and there, but we won't talk about certain things. And that's what you're seeing manifest in front of you.
Oh, that's a lot of propaganda, man. My God. All right. So We're going to move on from the topic now. I think we pretty much hit all the points we needed to on that one. But we're going to move into more political news now. So we'll be on the other end of that.
President Biden tonight is hitting back against the special counsel in the classified documents case. Even though no criminal prosecution was recommended, the White House says the report included, quote, gratuitous and inappropriate criticism when it comes to Mr. Biden's age and memory. CBS's Weijia Jiang has the president's heated response.
Tonight, the White House is doing damage control, defending President Biden's mental fitness.
I dispute that the characterizations about his memory that were in the report are accurate, because they're not.
And accusing special counsel Robert Hur, once a Trump appointee, of taking partisan shots at the president.
The comments that were made by that prosecutor, gratuitous, inaccurate, and inappropriate. The way that the president's demeanor in that report was characterized could not be more wrong on the facts and clearly politically motivated.
In the report, Hur referred to Biden's memory at least 9 times, that it was significantly limited and appeared hazy, that he had diminished faculties in advancing age and was a well-meaning elderly man with a poor memory.
I'm well-meaning, and I'm an elderly man, and I know what the hell I'm doing.
In a hastily called press conference Thursday night, the president was visibly frustrated and became emotional over Hur's mention that he could not remember when his son Beau died.
How in the hell dare he raise that?
He insisted his memory was fine, but at one point, President Biden confused the leaders of Egypt and Mexico.
The president of Mexico, Sisi.
Some fellow Democrats say Mr. Biden's attempt to defend himself fell short.
There was not a prepared, clear agenda of, okay, here's my explanation, here's what I'm doing, and it didn't go well. Okay, there's no doubt about that. That needs to get better.
Former President Trump did not comment on the report at his rally Thursday. He, too, has faced questions about cognitive decline, recently mixing up Nancy Pelosi and rival Nikki Haley when discussing January 6th.
It's like Nikki Haley is in charge of security.
Haley has blasted both men for being too old.
Do we really want to have 2 presidential candidates in their 80s?
In the wake of that special counsel report, President Biden plans to appoint a task force to review how classified material is handled to improve the process. He insists that he did not mishandle any classified material, blaming his staff for moving documents improperly.
In a new ABC News Ipsos poll, 86% of Americans think Biden is too old to serve another term as president. That figure includes 59% of Americans who think both he and Donald Trump are too old. President Biden has been facing increased criticism about running for a second term after that scathing special counsel report, which cleared him of any criminal wrongdoing, but went on to characterize him as a well-meaning elderly man with a poor memory. Democrats on the Hill have been rallying around the president, saying he is fit to serve.
This is a man who is sharp, who is on top of his game. Donald Trump is again going to be the candidate of the Republican Party. Joe Biden is the one Democrat who has beaten him, who can beat him, and who will beat him.
Okay, so there we go. We got President Joe Biden getting more questions about his ability to serve at his age, the mental capacity in which he can perform his duties. So he had the tests, and something I didn't know beforehand hearing this story initially, I didn't realize that was a Trump appointee. So my thoughts initially are definitely different now finding out that information. So, MD, what is your thoughts here on the piece we just saw about Joe Biden and the issues with his age?
So yeah, I knew that from the onset. The report. Yeah, to me it was an inside job. Like I'm not gonna sit here and try to sugarcoat it all. There was no point of showing any relevancy to uh basically determining or challenging his cognitive ability in the report, because it wasn't relevant to the investigation. And according to the things that were said about him, you didn't equate what it had to do to the investigation at all. It was an inside job, point blank, period. Now that's not taken away from if it's true or not. I ain't saying that, because I think it is some relevancy to, if we're looking at it from a general standard of Biden's cognitive issues. I mean, he shows it all the time. Now, I will give him a pass for that press conference he did last Thursday. You could tell Biden was visibly upset. At the same time, a lot of those questions and the way the reporters was hounding on him, he got caught off guard with a lot of stuff. The whole thing, I think I pointed it out as it was going on the other night in the chat when he called President Sisi the president of Mexico. I said, well, yeah, they gonna jump all over that. I knew they was gonna jump all over. But again, you could tell, especially when they start talking about his son Bo and all that, you could tell he was visibly upset. You know, he at one point in time he stopped and he was naming the church where he got the rosary beads from his son. He just stopped, and people were saying, see, he had a Mitch McConnell moment. No, he was upset, and I don't blame him for being upset at all. You know what I mean? But again, that don't take away from physically seeing that, Biden ain't all together. You know what I'm saying? But I can make that same argument for Trump. Trump's just kooky and crazy and wild with the stuff that he says. But he goes so over the top where, again, you have a situation where he's calling Nikki Haley Pelosi or vice versa. At the end of the day, people don't want to see Biden versus Trump again. That's just what it is. You know what I mean? Some people would say in another reality we would have, and my bad, it's a train going by. I don't know if y'all can hear that. But some people would say in another reality it should be Kamala and Nikki Haley. You know what I'm saying? I mean, what can we do about this situation? If we're gonna put our tinfoil hats on, is it a situation where they may be setting up Kamala to take the helm, so to speak, and take this thing over? To me, that would be disastrous for the Democratic Party. That's my opinion.
I agree with that opinion.
It would be disastrous, and you'll basically at that point be handing Trump the presidency in 2024, handing it to him on a silver platter. So you can only blame the DNC at the end of the day for even being in this situation. Why? Okay, you won the presidency in 2020. The goal at that point should have been making sure to maintain or retake whichever scenario would have came about the majority in Congress come midterm, and grooming the next person to take the realm. That should have been the play. But you chose to be steadfast because you felt like Biden was the ultimate flag bearer in terms of the policies that you was trying to push. Do I agree with it? No, I don't. Because hell, I don't agree with a lot of Democratic policy. But that don't take away from the strategy in which you maintain your victory. And I think the DNC did a horrible job at that. And it's showing right now.
What about two things? So on the screen here we have Trevor with his commentary. That's the last thing we need is an East Indian woman running. What are your thoughts on that, MD?
I mean, I would say I agree with you 100%. But I mean, hell, see, here's the thing with Kamala. Kamala is a sly, cunning beast because she can jump in and out of certain situations when the moment calls. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
One day she blackety black. The other day she curry eating. The next day she want to just get rid of all of that and just focus on, like, in terms of, what I care about the most, which is reparation, talking about the Freedmen's Bank Forum and everybody there but Freedmen are there. And like, so again, Kamala is a political chameleon in the sense that she's able to dibble and dabble in a lot of different policies and really not being effective in any of them. You know what I'm saying? So I could see the DNC, depending on the ebb and flow and how this thing go. I can see the DNC. Well, they're not gonna have a choice because she's the number 2 at the end of the day. So
Yeah.
if the administration comes to a point where they call on Biden not to be fit to be president, I mean, she'll be president either way it goes. But it's a tough look, man, because again, like I said, she's a political chameleon, and that's not good for anybody.
Okay, and then the other comment, Maria G said, classified documents is a nothing burger. Do you agree with
I
that one?
agree. Yeah, I
You
agree.
agree
I
with
agree
that?
wholeheartedly. Yeah, I do. I think the Mar-a-Lago case is the weakest case to me. The fact being that you can clearly see other case study with other presidents having classified documents.
But not
So
to the degree of Trump, though.
I agree with that, but that's going to be the argument. So ultimately, it's going to come down to if the grand jury can justify the process in which Trump, quote unquote, allegedly hid classified documents versus everybody else, basically like it ain't no big deal. You know what I'm saying? Based on the precedents that was set prior, I mean, the fact that he hit him, are you going to take that into consideration? I mean, it's tough for me to substantiate.
Well, it's not just that he hit him, but it's just where he hit him. It's how he had them just, easily accessible to anybody that's in there, being able to access that. Also showing it to certain people that he really shouldn't be. And then the biggest thing is him not returning it when he was asked to return it by the FBI.
What and that's the key point. That's what the prosecution is going to have to weigh on in terms of this case. Now let's go back and look at Biden. Hell, Biden had it in an old, soiled, soggy cardboard box behind the Corvette or whatever he was. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So again, the grand jury is going to look at and say, hey, like, what are we doing here? Now this is my opinion. Okay, yeah, he may have hit him. He may have didn't give him, when he was supposed to give him, but neither did Biden. But once they told him to give him to him, he did it. Like, it was no big deal. So are we trying to get a conviction based on it not being a big deal, or the fact that Trump denied the request for the documents in the first place? But the way the charges go, the charges don't look like that. We just going off the Espionage Act at the end of the day.
Right.
There's no detailed charges saying, hey, look, we asked for him and he said no. You know what I'm saying? So to me, I don't think it's a strong enough case to convict him on that. That's just me.
Okay. Ricardo, what is your viewpoint on that? Do you think that the classified documents is a nothing burger?
Yeah, I think it's much to do about nothing really. I think it's like, well, we all knew why it was brought about to begin with in the first place. The other side needed to say, hey, if you guys are gonna get Trump on something, then we might as well just go about and see we're gonna get something on Biden. So it wasn't surprising, but I think it was just a bit over the top, to be honest. But I just want to point out how I find it fascinating that we're now going to use but Biden is an old man card. Like, really? We're now we're going to put that one out? Okay. I mean,
Hey, hold
okay.
on, wait a minute. I gotta address Maria G. 'Cause I just saw her last statement. She said, "I'm not going to get." She's not. She's talking about Kamala Harris. She's not going to give you your pie in the sky reparations money. Okay, so you threw a shot. That's fine. Again, I'm not. I know Kamala is not going to give me my reparation. Again, she had something called the Freedmen's Bank Forum, where pretty much it wasn't no black person in sight. Not a notable one that gave any sense of the matter. So yeah, that's a given. Again, she's a political chameleon. She knows how to maneuver in a lot of different demos in order to push a narrative. So I agree with you on that aspect. The shot you throw, okay, yeah, tit for tat. I get you on the next one. That's all I wanted to say.
All right, Ricardo. And what about what Trevor said? The last thing we need is an East Indian woman running. What do you think about that one, Ricardo?
Yeah, I mean, I gotta echo MD sentiments as well. I mean, for me, I don't know where Kamala really suits or where she fits. At one point, if you remember, she said she said the same thing that Nikki Haley almost echoed, which was, "I don't believe this country was of a racist country," or something along that sort. And I was like, what the hell are you talking about? Like, are we gonna really go there? Like, have you been oblivious this whole damn time that you're gonna see?
Yes, because she hasn't faced any racism.
So
She
it's like,
grew up in an affluent Brahma Indian family. She ain't have to face no racism.
so it's like, I guess it's the two, Nikki and Kamala have something in common, where their Indian ancestry, I guess, didn't face racism, which I still fail to believe that, because in India they have a caste system. So I don't understand. It's like, if you have a darker,
Yes, and she's on top of Kamala Harris come from the Brahma class. That you can't
so
get no higher than that.
so it's like, when she said that, I was like, it was either it's tone deaf, or it's either you're just choosing to put on the blindfolds of, I'm with a Jewish man, and everything is always peachy keen on that side. Like, no, 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 baby love. The racism has always been prevalent in this country. It's still here. No matter how much you try to hide it, you're gonna see certain things that echo that sentiment. So when she said that, I was like, yeah, that's kind of off, but I'm not gonna give her a pass for that, because it's like, you, one minute you said, oh, but I went to a HCBU, and I was in a sorority, and then the next thing she was like, oh, but I was in California and I passed certain laws and I did so and so, but then you put the majority of the black males in prison. So it was like, it's like, there's a lot of things that I felt like the Democratic Party kind of didn't really vet her on, and it was like, it came back to show, because the other side was not letting a pass on her whatsoever. In regards to the whole Indian thing, it's either, I needed to choose a side. It's either you're black or it's, but then again, she's gonna say, well, I'm biracial. So I mean, if your daddy is black and then your mom is Indian, you could then choose to pass on either side. But when it comes to issues, you can't flip flop. The voting bloc is very specific with what they want. So one minute you can't say, oh, but because I remember she also came on I think it was a radio interview where she's like, oh, but I smoke weed because my father's Jamaican. What does that have to do with with your father being Jamaican, that you smoke weed? Like, anybody can smoke weed, but
But the stereotypes are ridiculous,
right?
ain't it?
Oh, because I'm black, so you can
Yeah.
identify.
What about the hot sauce in the purse? You remember that one?
That's a whole.
Oh my God!
I'm like, what the hell is going on?
Like, what the things that people say when they pander is like weird to me, because like when you see these things, they're put out there, and we can always, as sound bites, rehash them back. So I feel like she flip flops. So in regards to Trevor, whether or not you like it or not, I feel, and I've said this and I predicted this from a while back, I feel like they're still going to push Biden through for the second term, but they're going to use a guise of, hey, he has to do brain surgery, or there's something that we found with his cognitive state where we're going to have to put her in charge for a couple of months. And I feel that they're not going to do that until the very end of the presidency, where they will now lead it into her being the person that they want to push which would be for the next presidency. So that's where I feel they're going to do it. They're not going to do it now because I feel like there's too much heat at the moment regarding the whole situation with Trump and whatnot. But where I feel like they will push the narrative with her more is coming to the very end of Biden's presidency, where they're going to say somewhere around like, the second, I guess the second year, where they're going to be like, oh, hey, he has to do surgery, so we're going to put her in place. And that's when she's going to be president for a little bit, just to say that they hit the glass ceiling with it. And then they're going to run with it after and then push her to be the next president. I feel that's what's going to happen. And I stand by that.
Yeah, I agree 100%. The delectable Negro. That's what they're going to do. Even more delectable than Obama was. Because she fit all categories. You could throw the female thing in there with her. So it fit all categories. So yeah, you're 100% correct. And you're right, Trevor. But black people, they love the pandering because that's all they know.
Yeah, but we got to cut that out. We got to cut that out, MD, because the pandering doesn't help. I
agree.
I think it was you that pointed out black people, the black voting bloc in this country has never always been democratic. We've always been conservative in terms of a voting bloc. The black vote was always a conservative vote. I don't know where along the lines we start being or going down that road of, hey, we're democratic. It's like I need to figure
the moment the racists were all up in the Republican Party.
Yeah, you can't trip on that. I mean,
like,
if you really look at it, we tried to change again. We talked about this the other week. We tried to change during FDR and New Deal. We tried to go Democrat then, but the racists wouldn't let us in. You know what I mean? So we was like, okay, we'll go back conservative. Then of course you had the civil rights era. Ultimately, that's how we became Democrats during the civil rights era.
And we never looked.
You know what I mean? We don't have a lot of people make the argument, what are we gonna look back at? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, what has the Republican Party really reached out to black community with? I mean, Donald Trump in his run for election said, "What do you have to lose?" What kind of campaigning is that to a demographic? That is the lowest bar.
A specific policy. You ain't know what he got to lose.
Exactly.
I'm not gonna give you nothing either, but hey, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's outrageous, man. Like, give black people an option, give black people something of value, and that just doesn't happen. Ice Cube found that out real quick.
We're forgetting one more thing. Remember when when Biden went on what's his name show, and he was like, oh, you ain't black if you're not voting for me. And I'm like, what does that have to do with if I don't vote for you, I'm not black? That has nothing to do with Charlemagne's show.
Right.
Like, it's these stupid things that they say sometimes that I'm like, what are you guys talking about? Like, what does that have to do with me voting for you that I'm not black because I choose not to vote for you? So in other words, you're alluding to the fact that black people always must vote for a Democratic person because they're black. That's
right. And then that's that entitlement mentality right there. Like they feel like they're automatically entitled and they don't have to do anything. And that's why it's so dangerous when the Republican Party is so suspect. Because if it just had some viable means for not just the black community, but for any community other than the rich, wealthy, and the well-powered people, if we had something else there, then you could punish the Democrats for their lethargic attitude towards the black community, meaning that, hey, they're going to be there anyway. So, yeah, I mean, they're both part. That's why I don't like the two-party crap. There should be 6 parties. Should be 6 parties, man.
I agree with you.
All right, so we're gonna pivot, and we're gonna go into the next story. It's gonna be a news update, pretty much about the shooting that just happened.
And a woman is dead after she walked into the mega church of celebrity pastor Joel Osteen in Houston, Texas with a rifle and opened fire. Authorities say the woman was armed with a long gun and accompanied by a child around 5 years old. Eyewitness News reporter Sophie Flay joins us live in studio with more on what we're learning tonight. Sophie.
Jory, that's right. A shooter opened fire at Joel Osteen's Houston megachurch, leaving 2 people injured. It was 2 off-duty officers that jumped into action, saving hundreds.
Terrified families forced to leave Sunday service after a gunwoman opened fire at Joel Osteen's Houston megachurch, Lakewood.
We were sitting there with my mom, and they started shooting, and we went scared, and then we went to the chairs to try to protect us, and then everybody was crazy, running and walking all the way.
The shooter, a woman, walked into the church dressed in a trench coat with a long rifle, accompanied by a small child, according to police. 2 off-duty officers working at the church jumped in to stop the suspect. She later died at the scene.
A 5-year-old kid was hit and is in critical condition at our local hospital. There was a 57-year-old man who didn't have anything to do with it, I don't think, was shot in the leg. He's seeking treatment in the hospital.
Hundreds seen leaving the church were just about to start a Spanish service when they heard gunshots.
We hear 1, and then we're like 3, 1, 2, 3, and then start shooting maybe 10 shots.
We don't understand why these things happen, but we know God's in control, and we're going to pray for that little 5-year-old boy and pray for the lady that was deceased.
Police say the 30 to 35-year-old suspect claimed to have explosives. Hazmat crews searched the area but did not find anything dangerous.
She had a long gun, and it could have been a lot worse, but they stepped up and they did their job, and I want to thank them for that.
A deadly shooting at Joel Osteen's church.
We've got Steve Pickett, who has been on the road today, live at Lakewood Church Now, downtown Houston, with the update on the investigation tonight. Steve?
Well, the primary focus all day today after 2 o'clock, after all this happened, Doug, who and why. This woman walked in here, according to authorities, and opened fire, plain and simple, and could have hurt a lot of people. Unfortunately, there was 1 child who is critically injured. As you mentioned, that woman is dead. 1 other person also hit with this gunfire. It sent many of the congregants that were here inside Lakewood, and you know there are hundreds, if not thousands, who are typically here. Many of them sent running as a result of this gunfire. This is actual footage we saw this evening. Crime scene analysts, Houston police, DPS officials, all still inside this mega church this evening. They were obviously still working this scene, trying to process it, but no word from them late this evening on really sort of any updated information. We know that woman opened fire quickly, and she walked through this entrance here, apparently hiding a long gun under a coat. Many people actually have seen on social media by now the postings of hearing that gunfire as they were starting a Spanish service here. This was just after 2 o'clock this afternoon.
2 new details on the shooting at Joel Osteen's megachurch. Officials have identified the woman who opened fire before being killed by law enforcement, and they now say the 7-year-old boy injured in the shooting was her son. Maria Villarreal has the latest.
This morning, new video reveals the terrifying scene inside Joel Osteen's Houston megachurch, Lakewood, during a shooting rampage that wounded 2. The shooter, who was killed inside the church, is now identified as 36-year-old Genesee Moreno. She brought her 7-year-old biological son with her Sunday. Police say it's unclear who shot the boy, but confirmed he sustained a severe head wound. Parishioners seen trying to escape and screaming in terror. Gunshots going off just as a Spanish service was about to begin at Osteen's church, home to one of the largest congregations in the U.S.
She immediately starts firing inside of the hallway. Multiple rounds are fired by her, at which point Officer Moreno of the Houston Police Department, as well as TABC Agent Herrera, return fire. She eventually falls to the ground. The 7-year-old child falls to the ground as well from gunfire.
2 weapons were recovered at the scene, including an AR-15. Anti-Semitic writings were found on the shooter.
There was a sticker on the buttstock of the rifle that stated Palestine.
Authorities say one of the weapons was bought legally in December. The shooter obtaining the guns despite her history of mental illness and arrest dating back to 2005 on charges including assault.
Houston's police chief directly told me that they are now aware of the shooter's mental health history and they are delving into it. But when we pressed the FBI about how this person with a criminal background like this could have gotten a hold of not just one but two guns, they sidestepped that question and said that is part of the larger investigation.
All right. So they're trying to figure out how could somebody with that kind of past get the gun, and of course they sidestepped the question. Greg Abbott, the governor of Texas, ever since he signed that bill making guns more free to be obtained, we just keep seeing major story after major story almost every few months in Texas. I'll go to MD first because I know how MD is about these kind of topics. So go ahead, MD.
Well, first and foremost, let's get the whole gun legislation out the way. In no way, shape, or form do I believe that a person that's crazy should own a firearm. I never said that at any point in time. What I said was there are outlets in which these gun sellers have to use in order to determine if you are eligible to own a firearm or not. Do I think it should be like expanded more from not just the federal level? Yes, of course, because a lot of these charges that everyday people getting are not federal charges. So if you're trying to insinuate that I think that this person was okay to and fit to own a firearm, I'm not.
No, I'm
You know
not.
what
I'm
I
not
mean?
insinuating anything, sir.
Oh, okay, cool. In any event, yes. I mean, of course, there. When I go and purchase a firearm at the gun store, I show my weapons license, and that assures that I have been checked, and all the T's have been crossed, all the I's have been dotted, that I'm eligible to purchase a firearm. Everybody needs to go through that process. I don't think you should just willy-nilly just go in the store like you're buying a stick of gum and buy a firearm. No, but everybody has the right to purchase a firearm through the legal procedure. 100% yes. Now, it's unfortunate what happened, and I don't want to sidetrack the argument, but looking at that news clip, I gotta say it. It's unfortunate what happened. Joel Osteen was having a separate service just for Spanish-speaking people that had literally, I would argue, if not hundreds, thousands of people in there. Churches need to be taxed at the end of the day. This is ridiculous. This man is getting tax-free money every Sunday. Tens of thousands, probably hundreds of thousands of dollars every week.
He has a WrestleMania attendance every week. It seems like, my God,
this is ridiculous. And see, yes, I believe in separation between church and state, but I don't believe in separation between money and taxes, because we all got to do it, and so should you. Just because you tax don't necessarily mean that you have the right to be affiliated with some type of political ideology. That's dumb. These people need to be taxed, and that's just what it is. The lady was crazy. I mean, she had a clear history of mental illness. You know what I mean? It's unfortunate. I mean, basically, she used her child as a human shield, is what she did. And I believe they offed her, correct?
Yep.
Okay,
Yep.
as they should have, and that's just keeping it real.
Yeah, and in the report, I heard, I was working while this was happening, and I just in and out hearing things. So at first, I heard a baby with a woman. Then I heard 4 years old. Then I heard 5 years old. The end of this, the last piece of that story said 7. I don't know what's what.
Yeah,
I guess it
yeah.
was 7 years old, but
I think
yeah.
initially they said the child had been killed.
Oh, okay. Oh, wow.
So yeah, it's a lot of conflicting reports. You know what I mean? And also, you got to bear in mind also that again, she politicized it. It's unfortunate that it had, but she politicized it with the whole Palestinian sticker on the rifle.
Oh God, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Again, see, these are the dangers when we have situations like this. You know what I mean? And I mean, I don't know what the whole situation is with Joel Osteen and his views on Israel and God. I don't know. Everybody has their own different view. With it being a religious situation, I mean, I can only assume. I could be wrong, but I can only assume that I'm guessing that he was pro-Israel and that may have been a motive. You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, we're talking about Houston, Texas, a large demographic of Hispanics in Houston. This was a Hispanic service, and it went down like that. You can only default back to the mental issue. You can only do that.
And going back to what I was saying about first thinking it's a baby. So you're talking about Texas with the abortion, Roe versus Wade being overturned, that issue being that, hearing a woman, because you never really hear about women doing it. It's usually a guy, a white guy, is usually the one doing this. So when you hear a woman with a gun and a kid or a baby with them, you're like, oh my God, is this like a woman that's like pissed off about, abortion rights or whatever? Because why would you go to a church? I don't know. I don't know, what if that was a significant meaning or because she just didn't care. That was the closest place she thought of that had the most people. I don't know. But I just thought that was kind of wild. Ricardo, what do you think about this issue that we're visiting here?
Well, I'm gonna jump the with MD first and foremost that even though we separate church from state, I don't agree with this man. This is his name Olson? What's his name?
Yeah.
Joel Osteen. Yeah.
Osteen, I think. My problem with him is that ever since he's always rubbed me the wrong way. From the time when they had the flooding in Houston.
The floods, yeah.
Yeah, he said something that was like very odd to me as somebody that is supposed to be like a pastor or whatnot of a church, where he was like, in other words, he was trying to say something along the lines of, he doesn't want his church to be dirty, so he's not going to allow anybody to come into his church in terms of it being like a emergency spot or location or something along that lines. And I was like, but you're a church. That's what the purpose of the church is in a community, is whenever there needs to be like a pillar of a sanctuary where like anyone could go to, that's the first place that should be a safe haven. You don't want people to go into church to dirty up your pulpit or to dirty up your congregation or dirty up your. It was like, what message are you sending in a time of an emergency when your city is almost about is going through a natural disaster? You then state something like that. From ever since then, it rubbed me the wrong way. And I remember arguing somebody at work where it was like, oh, because I guess he was piously like Christian, and I was like, I don't give a damn whether or not you're pious Christian or not. That's very like stupid and very the optics of that was very bad, because for you to be a pastor and then say, oh, hey, I don't want these dirty people to come in my church because they're gonna dirty up my church. Like, go have several seats, sir. That's what you need to be doing, because at the end of the day, you're getting tax-free money that I can never understand why they're not taxing these mega churches to begin with. Like, why are you flying a multi-million-dollar jet and all these other things? Help the community that you're in. Like, that's what you're supposed to be doing. Like, I don't understand how you're deviating from what the biblical scriptures have been, that you're supposed to be preaching from the pulpit, doing. You're then now turning around. Did you not learn from when Jesus went into where did he go to again? Trevor might have to fill me in or remind me of this, where he literally turned the marketplace or whatever into like he just literally destroyed everything because they were just doing something that they weren't supposed to be doing. It's the same thing. Like I don't understand mega churches and the idea of them being tax free and they're not getting taxed enough. It's like very weird politically for me. Like I don't, that doesn't sit comfortable for me because they're getting all this money that they're harnessing and they're not doing nothing with it, splurging on themselves. So what's going to happen next with all that money that you're getting? You're just going to become very vain and vanity takes over. And that's defeating the purpose of why you're in church to begin with. But that's a whole nother story.
Right.
What I fail to understand, this woman's family has been shouting from the rooftop to begin with. I believe they said when the reports came out that the shooting started, because I was even baffled by the whole thing. How did this come to be? They were saying that they went to the authorities and told them, hey, she has a mental illness or a mental issue, and we need y'all to help because she's been saying that she's going to do this or she's going to do that. And they're like, oh, no, she hasn't done anything yet, so we can't do anything. Not to take away from anything, because you know how my stance has always been like, I feel like people use mental illness as a crutch in this country to the point where now we've grown so accustomed to it that it just goes over our heads. So everything now is a mental illness. And that shouldn't be the case. Like it takes away from people who really needs the help. But with that being stated, what are we really doing for mental, mental people, well, not mental people that need the mental help in this country? We're not doing enough, it seems. So when we passed this Affordable Healthcare Act, did they not put or implemented certain things in there that would facilitate the help of, say, this person or said person that has a mental illness issue, or say a veteran that comes back from abroad who has shell shock? Or what are we really doing? Because it seems to me that we're not doing enough, because more of these things seems to be happening more often than anything. And we have gone so far down the rabbit hole of a society now that even in church you're not even safe anymore. That says a lot to me. Like, is this country that fanatically involved with guns that now you can't go to the one sanctuary, the one place where it's supposed to be you and God, the higher being, the one person you could pray to? You can't feel safe there anymore in a church? That speaks volumes, man. Like, that's not something that we should be proud of at this very moment. Like, we've stooped really low in terms of society. But in terms of the mental illness thing, I feel like if they have listened to the family more, and maybe why didn't the family, push more? I don't know. Like, I don't know if the child had died. I still haven't, that part I'm always confused about. But I feel like I don't know if she's still alive either, or if she's unalive. I don't know. But when the story came,
Who?
it
Her?
was
The the woman that was
Yeah,
shooting?
yeah.
Yeah, she
yeah.
was
It's
killed.
reported that she
The
died.
police
Yeah, yeah.
killed her.
But
Yeah.
okay. So yeah, she was using the kid
And
as a
the kid is in critical condition right now. Yeah.
she as a shield, I believe. So, like MD was saying, so it was the whole thing, the whole situation with her, and she was then shouting out something about Palestine and Judaism and a whole bunch of stuff. I don't know what's going on. I just feel like the whole story was so confusing when it broke to begin with. But
Mm-hmm.
is it that, so did Alstein's church not have, for a mega church like that, did he not have private security with all the vanity that
Well,
he was?
they had cops there. Those were the ones that got on the scene. I
Yeah,
think off duty
yeah.
cops or whatever.
They were off duty
They were the
cops,
ones
and they
credited
yeah.
for because it could have been worse. It was like a 70-something-year-old guy that got hit,
Mm.
and that's it. The only person that died was really her. So that's good. That I mean, it's good. It's not good in general, but that's good that at least she's the only one that really died. The kid is on critical condition, and then that 70-some-odd-year-old guy who got hit, he's in the hospital trying to battle his way through as well. But everybody else was just running scared, and nobody else really got hit or killed.
Hey, let me ask a question. On the topic of mental illness, right? When is it when we deal with this? Because to me, again, I agree to sentiments, and I'm not the person that says government should control anything, but it's hard to take away the fact that the mental illness problem here in this country is to the point where it's so generalized where we don't even like look at it as an issue. You know what I mean? I mean, there's a large majority of homeless people are mentally ill. A large majority of the incarcerated are mentally ill. At what point do we and I don't want to make it sound bad, but at what point do we governmentalize it to a point where basically these people become wards of the state, so to speak? You know what I mean? Especially when there's no family involvement or anything to that effect. At what point in time do we just throw it up to government, or is that even an option?
I mean, I, I would like to see more dollars being put towards this issue. Um, we're throwing a lot of dollars to other things, and this is just not a priority. It seems like for politicians and legislators in government, they just don't seem to be all in on this. And we're all in on the military complex, and we're putting those dollars. We spend 9 times more than the next closest country, and those countries are like allies, and like we're spending all this money for that, but we're not doing the things here that we need to. And I just don't see how we can't just deal with this. Like it would create jobs and fields, and I don't know. Go ahead.
Okay, I get that point, but you can't fix mental illness though, like that. So
I think a lot of the mental illness you're talking about is being created by the scenarios that people are put in. You go into jail over a period of time, you are going to get kind of crazy. You go out homeless and you're in that environment, you're going to get there. I don't feel like a lot of these people were mentally ill beforehand. I think we're creating mentally ill people on a daily. Now, yeah, there are some people that are born that way or whatever, but a lot of people that are faced with these economical discrepancies and hurdles, they are becoming mentally ill. And how can you not see that, like, as a person, that if you're in a state of peril constantly, you're gonna lose your edge and you're gonna go crazy. So we're creating this problem every day.
I'll take your answer for what it's worth. Again, I look at it different. I look at it as we misutilize a lot of services to not deal with the problem of mental illness. Like I said, if you talk about incarceration, that and that goes back to my whole thing saying wards of the state. We would rather deal with it from the criminalization of mental illness than anything else. You know what I mean? Because a lot of that is profiteering at the end of the day. Now, you ain't gonna get me to say nothing like that no other time, Van Cat, but this time I'll agree that a lot of situations when we tackle the mental illness issue and we criminalize it is for profit through private prisons and so on and so forth. I totally agree. Should it be like that? No, it should not. Because essentially, you are making these people wards of the state just in a different capacity. And if you're going to release them just to be repeat offenders, I mean, it kind of like take away from the point. So I agree 100% on that aspect. We need more resources allocated in terms of housing these people in an effective way that, one, prevents them from doing anything to themselves or to other people. Two, put them in an environment where they feel comfortable enough within their mental illness. So I 100% agree, because that's a special situation to a special type of person. That's I don't look at a person that's mentally ill and think about individualism and capitalism and all that, because it's not under their own capacity to be that type of person. So again, I 100% agree. That's the only time you're gonna hear me say that. And another thing. Going back to Joel Osteen, you know that church that he has now is the old Houston Rocket arena.
Oh, Really?
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So again, man, the money that these people are making is insane.
So that's
It needs to
literally
stop.
an arena.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's the old Houston. Yeah, the old Houston before they moved into what is it called now? The Toyota Center, I believe.
it's
Yeah.
So yeah,
Oh,
it's insane at this, and it needs to stop.
yeah. They need to be taxed. Maybe double tax. I mean, you got a big business like that. How do you? Oh my God, and tax free. That's just insane. That's insane. What do you think here, Ricardo, about that? Taxing, taxing churches, and then Osteen and the shooting in general.
hell yeah. If you're asking me, yes, should we be taxing these mega churches more? Absolutely. I feel like they're getting away with murder, and they're not doing diddly squat for their communities. They're not doing nothing for their congregation. For me to throw tithes in a church that humongous, whereas I think it's a capacity of 50,000 people or more. You gotta like there's so much more that you could do or use to your advantage when it comes to the capacity and the leverage that you have in terms of the people that comes to these mega churches. What is people like Osteen doing with that? Like they're not like, yeah, you have the broadcasting rights, because I remember seeing him a lot on TV. But like Bones mentioned, he's hella boring. Like there's nothing interesting about watching him on TV. I think other than the plastic surgery that he's done on his face, that's the only entertaining part. But I illuminate every now and then. It's just like it's just weird dynamism that I'm like not understanding why people still support these mega churches or these things. And yeah, I mean,
You know why?
yeah, well, I do, but I I fail to understand why we still give credence to these mega pulpit facility churches that are like money machines. Like it makes no sense to me when they're not doing that much. And then when the natural disasters happen, like how we had with the Houston flooding, and it's like they're being scornful, that's another problem for me. Like you're deviating from what the church is supposed to be. It's supposed to be a sanctuary, a place of gathering, a place of healing, a place of you know of like resource. It's this is not what we're again, we've fallen so far as a society where it's now everything is vain to me. Like nothing makes sense anymore. So I don't really give credence to these places when I see them publicized. Like unless you're going out into the community and say, hey, I'm giving you food, or I'm doing a whatchamacallit drive. Because again, when MD said, weren't they doing like some kind of service for the Hispanic community? Like really, what about the other people that are, I don't get it. Like I just, maybe it's me, maybe I think too broad, I don't know. It's just religion and spirituality is two separate things to me now, and I lean more towards spirituality, not more so than religion, because religion, as we've seen throughout history, has done so much that it's now warped our mind, our way of thinking. So but to answer the other question, in regards to the shooting, I feel like, yeah, the mental illness thing, had they taken her more seriously, this could have been preventable. The family said they've made numerous calls to the local authority, and they've brushed it to the side to say that unless she's done something, which she ended up doing, it could have been worse, by the way. Thank God, the right people stepped in the nick of time. But these are things that I feel like if there's a watch list or something, they need to like start facilitating the people that are really the nutcases, because we're getting too accustomed to shootings. Like I need this country to snap out of it. Like it's one of those things where we can't keep using the mental illness as a crutch thing, because it's annoying now. Like at one point in time, are we gonna say we need to give a damn and say, hey, all right, enough is enough with the shootings. Like what is it gonna take for somebody, God forbid, to do a shooting somewhere where there's politicians, and then they're gonna take and make this and do changes? I don't know, but it's getting too prevalent, and it's now at a mark, or at a point of no return, where we're now going to have to say, hey, when is somebody going to do something about what is this so-called mental illness issue? Because I could have swore when they passed the Affordable Health Care Act, they could have put provisions in there to help whether it be veterans, whether it be a regular Joe Schmo that's down the street who is seeing, you know, God he knows what. Like we've come too far as a society to not know how to help people with mental illness. At one point in time, they used to put them in asylums. We don't need to be doing that anymore. There's medications, there's a number of scientific things that we could use now to our advantage. Like we've come way too far to not be able to help the richest country in the world deal with mental illness or what the causes it might create, you know, down the road. We got to do better. I don't know what we could do. I don't know if it's too socialistic. I don't know if it's like because we're spending too much money on unnecessary things. Yes, we want to help Ukraine and Israel, but you're spending $95 billion to these places when you have all these issues in your backyard. Try to help and stop. Like I thought the damn friggin' Republicans were gonna put their foot down on that bill, and here they go at it again. Like how
Cardo, you mad in that? What's going on?
Like I don't get when are we gonna put our foot down and say stop sending money to the Ukraine and Israel and all these places? It's a waste of our money, taxpayer money that me, you, MD, everybody else pays. Why are we still wasting our taxpayer money on unnecessary crap? Fix the issue in this damn country within our borders and then expand out. I don't get it. It's not making sense, but I'm babbling too much. So what you think?
No, but you're making a valid ass point. Like that point cannot be overstated. What you're saying, and I feel like the money is already there to tackle a lot of issues. You know, all this poverty, all this nonsense that's going on from state to state. You know, you look at some of these states; they look like third world countries. There's areas of Michigan that look like it's a war zone. The rat population is bigger than the human population in some spots. That's just ridiculous. Like it's the United States. It's not productive because there's money that could be made, and like we just have like entire areas of the country that's just not being utilized. Like that's just silly to me. Like you could do so much more. There's so much more we could be doing that's so much more productive. Going to what Trevor was saying here about the fact that they got 40 million in PPP loan. Now they got tax-free money, and on top of that, they got
more money. Right? Why? You're that greedy that you. Why? But can we just ask the question for a quick second here? Why are you taking out $40 million for PPP loans when you are in a mega church? Like, what are you trying to fix? Are you gonna? Because I'm curious now. Were you trying to fix the roof of the church? Were you trying to fix the seating and put more cushions on?
Well, I think it went toward because I think during the pandemic is when they purchased that arena, so it may have went toward that. But that goes to show you though, you want to treat the church as a business, but yet you don't want to quantify your earnings as a business, if that makes sense.
Right. They want all the positives and none of the negatives. Wow.
Exactly.
Bones commented saying, "What happens if we stop funding Ukraine and Israel? Besides oil, what's the true reason?" Anyone has an answer on that one? Like, if we stop funding both of them, Israel and Ukraine, what would happen?
It'll be catastrophic. Well, let me break it down. You know, differentiate both of the conflict. If we stop funding Israel, it'll be catastrophic to the level of deterrence based on our assets in the Middle East. So hypothetically, or let me say in layman's terms, if we stop funding Israel, it'll be swallowed whole in the Middle East, and as a result, we won't have any leverage anymore in terms of assets that we want to control in the Middle East. So gas prices will be astronomical.
Oh yeah,
because you won't have not necessarily say a diplomatic player in the game, but you won't have something lingering over OPEC countries anymore. You know what I mean? Israel essentially is the largest United States military base in the world. I say the whole country is a big military base to the point where we've advanced Israeli military so far ahead in some experts believe that their military capabilities are actually technology wise are better than the United States. So again, you know, we got police going over to Israel to be trained by their police.
Oh yeah. That's a whole
Israel, yeah, that's a whole nother topic with the whole Cop City thing in Atlanta and all of that. Israel is there for one reason and one reason only, and it's to be a deterrent for everybody else in that region, for the sole purpose of garnering a superiority based on the asset of oil. Now, Ukraine is a different story. If if you go back into the 80s, again, and I always use this phrase that Reagan said, Mr. Gorbachev, tear down his wall. Conservatism in and of itself. See, and this is the problem with the MAGA maniac. If you're just gonna go on the fundamental principles of what conservatism is, it's protecting, upholding, and creating the process of democracy all over the world. That's what Reagan sought out to do. And right now he will be rolling in his grave to hear people like Trump and some of these other MAGA maniacs say no more funding for Ukraine. What do you mean no more funding for Ukraine? Reagan said the USSR will not move 1 inch. That's what he said. He the hallmark of conservatism. Now all of a sudden we're doing a 180 and you're gonna turn your back on democracy around the world. It don't make no sense from a social aspect. Conservatism language is barbarism versus civilization. They consider Putin a barbarian, not from the aspect of him being some type of brute or savage, but from the aspect of him not constituting it under the auspices of freedom, quote unquote. When you take that away, you put Putin in a position where his ideology, now I love saying ideology, his ideology, which is fundamentally communist. Whether he's communist right now, that don't even matter. Because you can make an argument that Putin relishes in capitalism right now.
Yeah.
His own type of capitalism. But at the end of the day, yeah, of course, Ricardo. But at the end of the day, his core principles is communism and communism alone. You give an aspect or you give an inclination that it may be a possibility that letting them advance further west will allow their ideology to advance further west. It's a game of it's gain ground, lose ground at the end of the day. That's conservatism 101.
And
so
MD,
right, go ahead.
Maria G says, MD, worst take.
Hey, that's fine. If you want to challenge it, you ain't challenging me. You challenging the greatest Republican of all time, Ronald Reagan. He the one that said it. I didn't. You know what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, Ukraine is essential, not for any type of asset or resource. And you could even make an argument for resource because we all know Nord Stream 1 and 2 is taken away from superiority when it comes to the gas game in terms of natural gas. Do you think the masters in OPEC or the United States want Russia to be the #1 gas resource in the West? No, they don't. You know what I'm saying? So, there's that. So you could make it that argument. I'm not going to make that argument because I see it from a social standard regarding what socialism, I'm not socialism, what conservatism is. That's why I say conservatism is dead. For the fact that you're now arguing that we don't need to fund Ukraine to defend themselves against Russia, of all people, when we had McCarthyism, the Cold War, the Cuban Missile Crisis, all this stuff happening. And now all of a sudden it ain't no good look to go against Russia no more. Just from that level alone, Ronald Reagan's rolling in his grave as we speak.
So I want to acknowledge Mr. Straight Talk is on the panel. What's going on, Trevor?
Nothing. I just wanted to y'all was talking about the religion thing, so I just wanted to make one correction because I like to be accurate. I don't know where I get this 40 million from. He got 4.4 million in the PPP loan, which in the grand scheme of things is still ridiculous because you have to look at a couple of factors. He got it during the COVID year where his church was 100% paid for. He often brags about how they don't take a salary from the church because he makes so much money from his book sales, him and his wife, that they don't need to use the church's money. But on the flip side, he would get a PPP loan, and his reasoning for it was, well, we have a lot of church staff that we want to pay and we didn't want to lay off. So I'm going to take a page out of Venkat's book, because during COVID, WWE laid off a lot of people, and Venkat said that shouldn't have happened, which I partly agree with. So this creep, this snake oil salesman, he should have went into his own pocket and helped keep those families afloat, instead of taking money from the government. And he knew he was wrong, because had they not got that money under fraudulent pretense, they wouldn't have felt the pressure to give it back. They gave it all back because the pressure was so hard from the media. So not the media, but just from the public. So I mean, this guy has built, he's another one like Paula White and people like that, white preachers coming in and fleecing black people. They have built mega empires on the backs of stupid black people that have to look to a man or a woman to point them towards God. And they have profited so much from this. And I want people to hear what I'm saying, because it ain't necessarily that it's black or white, but there's a couple of things at play here. Because why aren't black people making the black preachers rich? Why is it that when the black preachers ask for money, oh, what are you going to do with the money? Why? What are you going to do with the money? Do you need another suit? How come you need that car? But when the slick talking white boy and white girl come in, oh, you so quick to give them money, to pay them tithes, and to buy their stupid self-motivation books. I'm gonna tell you, this guy doesn't even open the Bible when he does his messages on Sunday. He even said he's not a preacher, he's like a motivational speaker. So he's literally telling you, I'm gonna hide under the guise of religion, but not do said religion. I'm not gonna open the Bible. I'm not gonna give you a scripture. I'm just gonna tell you personal stories. I'm just going to be my old charismatic, boring self and give you personal stories. Then you have the other beanhead Paula, who can somehow summon African spirits, and it's the black people that's eating this stuff up. That's why I am the way I am, because regardless of what anybody says, I got a mind and I could think on my own. Regardless of what I believe in the Most High God, but I don't believe that I need a man to point me to him. And I'm tired of these people being constantly fleeced and allowing these snake oil salesmen to come and con them. Joel Osteen got about as much anointing as me. You know what I mean? So it's a sad
better go
affair.
hurry and open the church, then.
It's a sad affair of what happened in the church. But again, I don't want to do the mental illness card, because y'all gonna really say that I'm really bad for what I say, because I don't use the mental illness thing as a crutch all the time, because I think we just have some messed up people in this world, and I'm not gonna say that it's because of they're mentally ill. They're just stupid people. They're evil people. It's just like the story that we did on Man Talk Monday. the broad that stabbed her boyfriend 108 times and only got 2 years probation because they said that her mental state was altered. Bull crap. I done been high a bunch of times and ain't never wanted to kill anything. I wanted to kill some food, but never a person. So at some point, we got to stop the whole mental crutch. We got to stop the whole mental illness crutch thing. I do agree. I do believe that there is mental illness in certain people, but everybody ain't mentally ill. We just have to come to grips that we got some terrible people in this world. And that's it. We got like a bunch of just ridiculous, disgusting, awful people in this world. And the sooner we call it out, then I think we'll be able to finally heal. That's all I got. Y'all make sure and hit the like, share, and subscribe button. And if you feel so inclined, go ahead and join the channel membership for $1.99 and help support this great work that we're doing. Peace, fellas. I'm out of here.
Well, since we got Trevor on here, let's just play this real quick.
Oh, hit the promo.
I'm going to tell you something. Facial hair is not apostolic. However you want to cut it, it's compromise. I don't care if your leader says you can wear a beard, honey. Beard's nothing more than pride. You're not going to be dipped in Holy Ghost oil and run around looking like the world.
That's crazy. Hey, before I go though, I do, with tomorrow being Valentine's Day, I know it's commercial and everything, blah 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 blah. I hope that everybody gets this in their life tomorrow, and I'll holler at y'all.
Swallowed up. Have you ever been swallowed up? Have you gone through a time of swallowing?
That's all like TD Jakes.
It is TDJ.
Oh Lord.
Yeah, that is the window of what he said. When it's never gonna go over well. It's just like, what, Lord?
And that's the problem. That's the problem with organized religion. You have situations where, again, going back to Trevor's point, pandering. There's different demographics, different audiences that want to hear different aspects of their superiority or their compliance or their complicity in certain ways, and religion is one of them. Not saying there's anything wrong with being spiritual, to your point, Ricardo. Ain't nothing wrong with that. But when there's people that want to collectively gather based on one ideology, you always gonna have that. And you'll also have people that can counter that, just like the promo that you just played, Van Cat. That's a totally different argument. You know what I mean? But hey, I digress. We can move on.
Lord.
All right. So we'd like to go in right now on a video here by Mr. Kanye West. We'll be back on the other end.
I was two months, I'm gonna just be honest with y'all, I was 2 months from going bankrupt.
Really?
And I put everything I had into it. We moved to Italy, we moved to the factories, and we survived. We survived through the cancellation. We're back #1.
Do you think the controversy helped you?
It wasn't about the controversy, it was about the ability to say how you felt out loud. And if I didn't have the various skill sets of music and clothing and the fan base, they would have been able to destroy me. But because we had all those skill sets, somehow I'm here inside of this universe, able to fight.
You can't be destroyed, it would appear.
Thank you. Love you. And love all the people that support it.
What do you have to say to people who resent your success based on some things you've said that they disagree with?
That's the whole thing. They got the right to their opinion. I got the right to my opinion. You understand what I'm saying? We all have the rights to our opinions, but so many people will lose their jobs, lose their careers for taking the steps that we took. You know, we went down for like a year and a half. You know, people think that I got, you know, kicked out of Adidas for the tweet. We were having problems before. They were stealing my designs. They still trying to sue me. It's like, get right. You know what I'm saying? I said apology. Some of the stuff I was saying was true. So until y'all come up and say, yo, what he was saying, some of that was true, then go ahead with all that.
Do you take back any of the anti-Semitic stuff you might have said?
Black people can't be anti-Semitic. We are Jew. You understand what I'm saying? We are Jew.
I think
so cool out. Until you do your facts, until you really do the facts with the fake indoctrination that y'all pull into the schools and all that, you know what I'm saying? We're not following y'all rules.
I mean, just like calling DEF CON on Jews and that's like, do you take back any of that sort of more extreme stuff?
You know what? For all the kids that love me, all the Jewish kids that love me, I'm sorry if y'all had to hear a grown-up conversation with us screaming at each other. But we got to a point where something needed to happen. Something needed to be said. Somebody needed to say something. Now, if you're in an argument with somebody, you're not going to say everything the right way. But it got to a point where y'all ain't going to just keep running, start calling me bizarre and press for all these years. I got to a point, how many more times y'all going to call me crazy? How many more times y'all going to give me fake medication that makes me fat off of a misdiagnosis when I really have slight signs of autism from the car accident? But then y'all gave me, you say, whatever, just give them that bipolar medication. Y'all try to kill the superheroes. But we here, we alive. You know what I'm saying?
People calling you crazy and misinformed.
What'd you say?
Your thoughts on the Palestinians?
I don't have enough information on that. I'm straight up from south side of Chicago, born in Atlanta. I don't have enough information. There's love for everybody, but don't pull me to that conversation. I got 14 kids dying every week in my city. You know what I'm saying? So talk to me about that.
Yeah. Hey, appreciate you, man. Thank you, Kanye.
All right. Kanye West says he got 14 kids dying all day in the city. He ain't got time for Palestine. What do we think here about that, Ricardo? What Kanye West just said on the video.
Good old Kanye West. What can I say? So, you know, I believe he was coming back from a trip or some sort of, you know, whatever, you know, publicity thing he was promoting. And as per usual, you know, you always get the TMZs, the paparazzis and whatnot asking him questions, which, you know, he's notorious for, you know, knowing to speak, you know, about a number of things that, you know, happen, you know, in various, you know, portions of entertainment and whatnot. But to his point, you know, when it comes to, you know, certain issues, I just find it very bizarre and odd when he speaks about, you know, what transpired with him, which in the sense he is correct. I mean, they did literally try to destroy him, and you know, but some of it is own doing. I mean, like, you did say a number of things, and you're entitled to free speech, but at the same breath, when you were entitled to free speech, it doesn't, you know, absolve you from the wrath of what comes afterwards, which, you know, most of it, like you said, may have been true allegedly, but, you know, there are a certain number of people out there that, you know, they admonish in the things what people do, and then they, you know, it's cancel culture, and where since the pandemic, we've seemed to have grown more and more into it. It's not something I like. This cancel culture thing, because I feel like some of the times when people do it or jump on this whole mob mentality thing, it's like we hear what we want to hear first, and then after, when the facts comes out, it's like, oh, it may not have been what we thought. Well, you know, jumping the gun creates this kind of, you know, thing that we do. But in this case, nonetheless, when it comes to him then being asked about Palestine, he's like, well, I don't have enough information to talk about it. Yeah, in a sense, he could be right, but you're that oblivious that you don't know what's actually taking place in Palestine. I mean, you know, but I think it's like a dodge. He was trying to dodge the question, but I felt like he could have, you know, probably stated a little bit better. I have to agree with Trevor on this one too. You get into a car accident doesn't create autism. That's not how that works, you know. And for the people out there, I mean, I need them to stop saying certain things that don't make sense. I have a child that's autistic, so that doesn't fly well with me. because you can't just automatically go into a car accident and it then automatically just get autism. You have to be born with it. So when he says certain things like this, it kind of makes me go, well, you're doing certain things and you're saying certain things, but you do hold a certain responsibility. So we have to hold you accountable for what you're saying. And when accountability comes, other things that you have to then stand into. So if you step in the poop, you're gonna mess up everything else as you start walking. So it's either you don't step in it and then navigate around it or whatnot, but don't say certain things and then go off a tangent and then be upset when you get the wrath of it. It's like, I don't understand. It's like it's 50-50 when it comes to Kanye West for me. Like he says intelligent things sometimes, and then the other times it's like, I don't know where. It's like it's like what we call can we say that word, MD? The nigga babble? I think we could say it on here.
Oh, yeah. Well, definitely nigga babbler.
Yeah, the nigga babble. It's like what like, dude, like stop. There should be an advisor or a publicist beside you that tells you, okay, Mr. West, please don't say anything else. Like, there should be someone there to stop him, because half the time he's just going off. Now, I think he's talked about the mental things that he goes through, where I think he takes medications. So it's like he was trying to talk about the fact that he's gained weight from that, and he's working with like his record label about like taking the pills and not taking pills. I don't know what it is. I'm just gonna say allegedly, but he did go on record and talk about it. But if that's the case, then there's certain things you could take yourself away from Kanye West. Don't talk, don't speak about certain things. And if you do, because you're not inclined to talk about certain things, and I feel bad for what you went through last year, where you almost lost your business, and the Adidas deal proves another point when it comes to capitalism and free market and all of that. But with that being stated, sir, you are an adult. When you do certain things, there are repercussions to what you do, and you can't get upset when the repercussions come snowballing down the hill, like how it does for you. So that's all I'm going to say. But yeah, what rubs me the wrong way in that whole clip was when he said, when he went to the car accident, is like automatically became autistic. That's not how that works, kiddo. It's a neurological issue, and that's not something I need you to. It's kind of like I wouldn't say, I'm not gonna assume he was, but don't use that as a crutch. It's not something that sits well with me, and I'm sure other people are gonna get him on that too. But I digress. I guess MD can talk about the rest of the nigga babble that he's gonna be doing.
Hey, MD, you got to put that on a T-shirt. Put that nigga babble on a T-shirt.
Say no to nigga babble. Yeah. But yeah. You hit it on the head, Ricardo. So I guess now, you get in a wreck and, it make you like the Rain Man, because he a genius. You know what I'm saying? But I mean, at this point, like he done. I don't know what did it, what happened to him. You know what I mean? Because musically, he defined a generation. I'm gonna just keep it a buck. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
But
take
I guess it was a method to the madness, I guess you could say. But again, a lot of the stuff that he was saying, it was incoherent. I ain't even gonna put no note into that. For me, I say that, when they asked him about the pound sign, yes, he was running. He ran from the question because he knew he didn't want to get back to anything talking about the chosen people at the end of the day. He don't want no more of that smoke. At least not for now, he don't. Let him get his money up a little bit, then he may go back to it. But right now, he don't want that. So he chose the correct answer to the question. He did it in a very nationalistic way, which is fine. I ain't got no issue with that because it's true. Chicago is being destroyed right now in terms of the shooting violence there. So 100% agree with what he said. What are you doing about it, Kanye? Not a damn thing. At the end of the day, you know what I mean? So,
because I was just about to say the same thing. When did you start giving a damn about Chicago? All of a sudden, Chicago is your thing. Like, don't you live in LA? If you really cared about Chicago, you would have went back and lived there. But no, you like all of a sudden, it's like I'm preaching for Chicago. Please sit down, man. Like, nah, I'm not gonna give him a pass on that one.
Right. And I would say, what can he do? Like, yeah, he could put resources towards certain things and this and that, but Kanye can't connect with the generation in Chicago right now. He just can't do it. It's impossible. You know what I mean? You could make an argument that his whole demeanor and his whole way of going about uh his hip hop lifestyle, even prior to the whole debacle that he's in, would still be ineffective because Kanye don't fit the mold when it comes to that particular geographical region of the United States of America. He's an anomaly. I've always said that about Kanye West. Kanye West, yeah, he was raised in Chicago by a well-educated, well-qualified, well-deemed economic mother, by the way, but he still can be put within the societal role of, single mother, blah blah blah, this and that. We black folks at the end of the day, it's certain natures about us, how we deal with life. You know what I mean? No, it don't really matter like where you at. But we're talking about Chicago drill, 63rd, Glock with the switch. Kanye ain't got nothing to do with that. You know what I'm saying? He never had anything to do with that. So there's an argument to be made that he was never in a position where he could do something socially in Chicago because he ain't that person at the end of the day. So again, Kanye, do what you do. At the end of the day, I hope you can come out of this relatively unscathed from an economic standpoint, because you put in the work to be successful. I'm not going to deny you that. But in terms of you getting help and blah blah blah, this and that, at the end of the day, to me, you just got to look within. You got to figure this out, because it done went crazy. You know what I mean? I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm gonna pray for you, I guess.
Well, we're gonna be keeping our eyes on Kanye, because I'm sure this is not the end. He's always gonna say something and get into some kind of political. It's like he's stepping his toes in and out of politics, and I'm sure it's just a matter of time before he does let something fly. So he ran from the question today.
I guess he done dropped out of the candidacy of president of the United States.
yeah, maybe safe to say that.
What happened to Yay 2024? What happened?
and he said, Yay, Hitler, Jesus 2024. So that ain't going down.
In that order.
In that order. Yeah, in that order. All right. So it's about that time to get into session. So let's get everyone together and let's get into the lame duck session.
First things first, in this lame duck session.
For the United Nations General Assembly to share the extraordinary progress we've made. In less than 2 years, my administration has accomplished more than almost any administration in the history of our country. America's so true. Didn't expect that reaction, but that's okay.
Right.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got him.
You're trying your best, but it never feels like enough.
I started having second thoughts almost the moment I sat down on the plane.
Lights off! Off! Turn them off. They're too bright. Turn them off. Turn them off. Let's go. Ready? Turn.
We go back a long way. She was 12, I was 30, but anyway.
So I changed my return flight and flew back on the first available flight I could take.
I'm sick and tired of smart guys.
I'm sick and tired of ordinary people being fleeced.
I'm tired of being quiet.
I'm sick and tired. I'm just sick and tired. We have this notion that somehow if you're poor, you cannot do it. Poor kids are just as bright and just as talented as white kids.
With great power comes great
You want to see a bird graveyard? You just go. Take a look. A bird graveyard? Go under a windmill someday. You'll see more birds than you've ever seen in your life.
The race for the White House, former President Donald Trump threatening to upend the NATO alliance if he's reelected.
Tonight, former President Trump under fire for saying if elected again, he wouldn't protect NATO allies that don't contribute enough to the defense fund.
If we don't pay and we're attacked by Russia, will you protect us? No, I would not protect you. In fact, I would encourage them to do whatever the hell they want.
The White House calling those comments unhinged, saying during the Biden presidency, NATO is the largest and most vital it has ever been. NATO's General Secretary saying in a statement today, any suggestion that allies will not defend each other undermines all of our security, including that of the U.S. But Trump allies today trying to play down his comments.
I have zero concern because he's been president before. I know exactly what he has done and will do with the NATO alliance.
Nikki Haley spending Super Bowl Sunday making a fourth quarter push to win over voters ahead of the South Carolina primary, saying if elected, she would absolutely commit to remaining loyal to NATO allies.
We should want to keep our alliance as strong as possible. Yes, we want them to pay more, but that is not the way you get them to do it.
Haley showing no signs of dropping out. Her main message, Trump and Biden are just too old.
These comments from the Republican presidential candidate came when he was on a stage surrounded by many of his supporters. It was a campaign event in South Carolina on Saturday night. He was doing a wide-ranging speech, and this was part of it. In the middle of it, he started recounting a story of a time when he had a meeting with a number of NATO leaders. Now, NATO is, of course, the Western Military Alliance, which the US and a number of European nations are a part of. It came about after World War II. And Donald Trump says that he was in this meeting and he was asked by some of those NATO countries if the US would offer protection if there was a Russian invasion. Donald Trump says that he told them that the US would not offer protection to any of those NATO countries that weren't paying their fair share, and went even further as saying that he would encourage Moscow to do what they want with these member states who aren't paying their way. It's an agreement of the NATO countries that each of them should be paying about 2% of their GDP towards military expenditure, but a number of those countries actually fall a little below that. So that's what he's referencing there. Of course, this was a campaign event. The language was loose and it was colourful. Let's take a listen.
And one of the presidents of a big country stood up and said, well, sir, if we don't pay and we're attacked by Russia, will you protect us? I said, you didn't pay? You're delinquent? He said, yes, let's say that happened. No, I would not protect you. In fact, I would encourage them to do whatever the hell they want.
As war rages in both Europe and the Middle East, Donald Trump is encouraging Russia to attack our NATO allies. During a campaign speech in South Carolina on Saturday, Trump recounted a conversation he allegedly had with a fellow world leader while he was president.
By the way, it was one of those crazy, and someone stood up and said, sir, and he said they were from a big country. Sir, if they don't pay, if we don't pay, what will you do, sir?
Yeah.
Nobody's saying that.
Anyhow.
Like, what a jackass. How stupid would you have to be in that audience to go, oh, wow, didn't he really say that?
Yeah.
That's amazing. I can't believe a big country president would say that.
Anyhow.
But it was it's just stupid. Like, he is now so desperate to support Vladimir Putin and undercut America's allies in Europe, he's making up a sir story. Mm-hmm. It's not even a good lie for Donald Trump. Like, you can tell he's losing it. Like, he's losing his touch. This is when Elvis couldn't even he's so fat, he couldn't even get the scarf from around his neck to throw to the audience. He just kind of sat there and looked down and sang. Remember Heilman, when they had to hold the microphone?
Yeah.
For Fat Elvis when he was playing piano?
100%,
because he lost all his moves. This is Donald Trump. It's a story that a third grader would go, why is he lying to me? And the people in the audience, they can't be that dumb to say, somebody, a big country person said, sir, what if we don't? Like, this guy will do anything to justify defending and supporting Vladimir Putin and getting us all ready for this is the dangerous part. When he's president again, he's getting us ready for him to be an autocrat, a dictator.
All right, there he goes. Put the spotlight on lame duck number 25, Donald J. Trump. Seems like he's been the first ever lame duck, and he's been lamed up more times than anybody else. And this week, well deserved. So we'll start with MD. MD, what do you think about lame duck number 25?
See, I told y'all I'm the political prophet. You mean to tell me we got Trump again as lame duck for the second time in 2024 already? Is that what you're telling me?
Yes, indeed.
Well, again, folks, if your vote don't go to Trump this year for Super Duck, it's a problem. It's a problem. Hey, man, this is apropos. This current situation with the comments about NATO, and this is a learning opportunity for everybody. So the United States, and this goes kind of back to the point saying, we talk a lot about the defense budget, and I've had this argument before with y'all, the defense budget and how we spend militarily in the country and how it's all this tax money. I reiterate again, it's not tax money. The United States of America, we call it a monetary sovereign, meaning that there's nothing else that backs the US dollar. We're a monetary sovereign. At the end of the day, it's monopoly money. We make it up as we go. The Federal Reserve gives the money to the United States. The United States then goes sell bonds. On top of that, profits through military spending via subcontractors, and it just goes in a circle. You know what I mean? That's how the defense GDP works. None of it is tax money. Not in the sense like how me and you view tax. Surprisingly enough, the United States is the only monetary sovereign country in NATO. So using that logic, if we're monetary sovereign, meaning we make it up as we go, versus other NATO countries that use what they call the Eurozone or the European Central Bank to quantify their value of their own money, naturally, the United States will spend more money versus every other NATO country, because literally these other NATO countries that are mostly European can't do it because they can't poof money out the sky like we can. So when you ask these other NATO countries, hey man, you got to fit the bill. We don't have any money to fit the bill. Our GDP doesn't allow us to increase like yours. Why? Because y'all are monetary sovereign. The defense budget, if we're looking at the pie as far as GDP, increases in defense every single year. How is that possible? And not our taxes go up the same way. Why? Because it's poof out of the sky via the Federal Reserve. And then we go through the circle of life like the Lion King. We go to do the bonds, then we get the profit from the subcontractors, and it goes on and on. So it's a dumb argument that Trump, I'm assuming that he knows this, but he plays off the stupidity of the MAGA maniacs because they don't know. So it's a political ploy to use a storyline, WWE style, if you will, to garner the affection of an ignorant person at the end of the day. So I would argue that NATO is doing exactly what they're supposed to do, fall under the whim of the monetary sovereign country, the United States of America, because we put in the most, therefore we control it. But Trump, hell, at this point with the Tucker Carlson interview and everything, it honestly looks like, I'm not saying it's true, so I don't want nobody to put words in my mouth. With his comments from NATO and the Tucker Carlson interview and various other factors, it honestly looked like Trump is being strung along by the puppet master Vladimir Putin and the Russian Federation. That's just tinfoil hat. But there's an argument to be made, and I'm gonna leave it at that.
Okay. All right. So Ricardo, what do you think about lame duck number 25?
Color me not surprised by anything DT just said. You remember me going on record last week saying, I applaud him. If there's one good thing that he has done is to go to these countries and say you need to pay your fair share. Now, with that being stated, sir, paying your fair share for NATO is one thing, but when you're gonna say you're not gonna help, when if God forbid there's an invasion, you're gonna say, "Oh hell no, just gonna let them sit back and watch it happen." Oh no, sir, have you not learned a blasted thing from World War II? This is, and even better yet, have you not learned anything from what is transpiring right now in the Middle East with Palestine and Israel? Like, there's so much things that DT says sometimes, and I think they need to stop giving him credence to what he's saying, because he's just saying things for the sake of, I'm going to be the selection or the nominee for the Republican nomination, and I could just say anything I want to say. Sir, no, that's not how that works. You need to stop. Because right now, if they were to hold, and don't come after me because this is just what, it's been stated when we put the facts together. If the elections were to be held today, right now, Donald Trump would overwhelmingly lose to the popular vote, and Biden will have an overwhelming popular vote due to the fact that people will still do the same thing they did the last time. So it's not gonna bode well. And I keep saying this. Yes, there's disenchantized people out there that are, upset and are, MAGA people and whatnot. Sure, they have the ability to, make, whatever, whatnot, like a dent or, whatever you want to call it, because we can't ignore them. But with that being stated, will he win? Based on, no, it's
What happened? Did I go out? And what just happened? Van Cat, you there? I don't know what just happened. Mic check. Can y'all hear me?
Hey, yeah, MD. Yeah, I'm here.
Okay.
I don't know
Yeah,
what happened.
I don't either. I thought it was me. I'm sorry.
Yeah, Ricardo seemed to get knocked off, and then I tried to get him back on, and then I got knocked off. Sheesh.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah, I thought it was me. But Ricardo made an excellent point bringing up World War II. I mean, essentially that's what happened. Chamberlain was the PM at the time, and he just ignored what was going on with Hitler. Like Stalin did the same thing. Hell, Stalin made a pact with him, saying, "Hey, yeah, you can get this part of Poland and Yugoslavia and all this stuff." You know what I mean? And what happened after that? World War II kicked off.
Yep.
So excellent point by Ricardo. You know what I mean? How you can think, and like I said, you can have a certain opinion about Putin and Russia and whatever. I think it's layered, and I think people really don't understand the complexity of it. But that's neither here nor there. But to think that you can just up and willy nilly and think that you could just let another country do what they want to do and then not have a direct impact on you when you yourself are the focal point of civilization in the world, is a testament to your backwards or linear thought process when it comes to global politics. You know what I mean? It's stupid at the end of the day. Whether you believe is right, wrong, and indifferent, that's not the point. The point is you think there is no direct impact on your social economic standing of how you're placed in the world. That it don't work that way. You know what I mean? So again, excellent point by Ricardo. I don't know if you're back yet.
Ricardo, you on? I don't know. I guess he's still having problems there. Yeah. Yeah. What's funny to me? Yeah, he just dropped off. Yeah. What's funny to me is Trump being so concerned about NATO members paying their fair share, but doesn't have none of those concerns are there when it comes to paying your fair share of taxes. But that seems to be some sort of a cause that he's rallying to fight, but he won't do it when it comes to taxes he needs to pay in the United States because he paid historically very low amount for the last over a decade. Donald Trump hasn't, I think it's what, 7,500. Like that's like to the extent of what he paid, considering all the millions that he makes every year.
Right. So why not use that same logic in global policy? Should if you believe in the trickle down effect, shouldn't it also trickle down globally in terms of how you view diplomacy around the world? It also should trickle down, right?
Right.
But now all of a sudden you so nationalistic where we shouldn't do stuff. That's crazy.
Yeah, he's just picking and choosing, man. Yeah, Donald Trump is just not a even keel person. I mean, he's just whatever suits him for the moment and just runs with that. I mean, there's nothing genuine about his positions. That's for sure.
Right. And even to the point again, going back to the discussion that we had about the border funding.
Yep.
You did all of that trying to get Republicans to stop funding for Ukraine. They take the border stuff out because you told them to, and the Ukraine funding still get passed
anyway
to the tune of $95 billion. like this is insanity at this point.
the bill that was there was better than the bill when he was in office that he was trying to push. It's right now they conceded, the Democrats conceded so much, and it's like, no, we're not going to do it because I need credit. Like, that's weird. That is so weird to me. Oh, hold on. Ricardo just posted here. He wants the link. All right, let me get the link back up for Ricardo. All right, there we go. All right, so we'll wait for Ricardo to come back up, and he may have wanted to finish his point on what he was saying about Donald Trump, but okay, so he should be up shortly now.
So yeah, again, before Ricardo comes back up, I said, I want to reiterate, he made a great point, and it's almost like you place a bet with house money and you win the jackpot, then you put the whole jackpot up, and then you lose everything. That's basically what the Republicans did last week. They made a bet, they gambled at the behest of Trump, saying, "Hey, look, don't vote for it because I want credit for closing the border. Me, I want it. So I'm going to make you not vote for it." You do that, then say, we're not going to go for that because we want it to be more stern. Plus, we don't want any Ukraine funding. So they said, okay, that's what you want. Fine. We put the offer on the table. We'll take it back. You don't want to accept it. And still, and the bill that they just passed for that Ukraine and Taiwan and Israel fund, that's unprecedented.
Right.
They still passed the bill at $95 billion. So now they still gonna do the Ukraine funding, and now you get nothing. How stupid can you look as a Republican in Congress right now? If I was a constituent of any of them Republicans right now, I would get their ass out.
Right, they're
That's just what it
ineffective.
is.
They're just
Ineffective.
ineffective. Yeah. Hey, Ricardo, can you hear us now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right. Did you want to continue your point that you were making on DT?
No, I mean, it's to add to your point, MD. It's like, how do you lobby for a bill with this whole time about the border, and then all of a sudden you change your mind a couple weeks back, and then now we don't have nothing on the table in terms of it was a bipartisan deal agreement that was going to be set upon to be passed, and now all of a sudden it's like he made this whole thing, and it's like I wouldn't agree, I would not sign because of you and your damn freaking mouth. Now we don't have a damn bill passed about the border, and I doubt they're going to go back to the table again. I don't think the Democrats should, and I don't think
It's over. Yeah, it's over.
Not going to happen. So we're going to see what's going to happen leading into the election, because again, he thinks he knows every damn thing. And I keep saying this to people, and people are not listening to me.
Oh, did he go out again?
Oh man, he might.
You can hear me?
Oh yeah, we can hear you now.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you back. You back.
No, I was saying Donald Trump is not that smart. We're giving him way too much credence when it comes to politics, and I'm glad there was some military people that have been in the institution for a long time to really scold him when he needs to be scolded, because he could say anything and he thinks it sounds right. That's not how military works, sir. And I don't understand why people don't come after him when he goes and says that, like he came after Nikki Haley's husband. Now, whether or not I agree with her politics or anything of that nature is one thing, but when you come after military personnel that fights on the behalf or the behest of this country, where you decide to run away from, because if
He dodged it. Bone spurs.
you don't get to speak period about anybody who serves, sir. Like that's to me that's when you lose me, because you can't go against the grain of that institution. Now, there are many fallacies that comes with being in the military, and that's for a whole nother topic for another day. But he's done this time and time again, where I'm noticing that nobody stands up and says anything when he says it. Please, sir, stop doing that. That's not something that looks good for you to be doing. Don't speak ill will of people who serve for this country. We lost like 4 or 5 personals in near the Jordan border a couple weeks back, and it's like it still tears me up inside, because those family members will never get to see those people that were asleep and were bombarded by whatever that transpired along that borderline. It's like, please stop talking bad about like when he said whatever he said about Nikki Haley's husband. It really disgusted me, because I'm like, dude, like, where is he? Where is he at? Like, dude, if you try to even do like a military tour, it wouldn't be so bad. But you don't. You only show up when it seems to be convenient, and that's something that.
Ricardo?
Yeah, can you guys hear me now? I'm tripping on
Yeah.
quiet. But yeah, like pick bagger crowd. Y'all need to be choosing your battles carefully when it comes to DT, man, because I don't know. It's one thing when it comes to certain things, but military, he knows nothing about. And brinksmanship is not something I want him to play around with, because when you hear talk about you're gonna watch NATO allies being invaded and you don't do nothing, it's kind of worrying and troublesome for me to hear somebody says that. And that's why the establishment came down hard on them. Don't talk like that, sir. That's not something that you should be talking about. And if we have not learned from history with World War II and everything else that came along with that, when it comes to invasions and nobody did nothing, because it's like, oh, it's just a little thing that no, it's not a funny game when it comes to brinksmanship. I don't want him to talk about that. And I feel like the establishment, if there's one thing I will say about the Republican Party this week, was they came down heavy on that. Please don't do that, DT. It don't look good on you. It's not going to age well. So that's all I have to say about that.
Correct
All
me
right.
if I'm wrong, but didn't he say that any soldier that died in the line of duty was a sucker and a loser? Ain't that what he said?
Mm-hmm. One of the numerous things he has said, and it's like, what are you talking about, sir? Really?
I don't understand how you could be a candidate when you've said something like that. Like that should have automatically
Cancel you out
eliminated. Yeah.
automatically.
Oh man. All right. So we're gonna get into the nightcap. Get ready to close out the show. But let's go into the nightcap video and then we'll get our last words.
This is a guy that the media didn't give a time of day to after he was accused of sleeping with an underage girl. And there's a reason why no one in the conference came and defended him, because we had all seen the videos he was showing on the House floor that all of us had walked away of the girls that he had slept with. He'd brag about how he would crush ED medicine and chase it with an energy drink so he could go all night. This is obviously before he got married. All of a sudden he found fame because he opposed the Speaker of the House back in November, and he's always stayed there. And he was never going to leave until he got this last moment of fame by going after a motion to vacate.
It's important to know Congressman Gates has never been charged with any sex trafficking crime, and he gave this statement to CNN in response. I don't think Mark Wayne Mullen and I have said 20 words to each other on the House floor. This is a lie from someone who doesn't know me and who's coping with the death of the political career of his friend Kevin. Thoughts and prayers.
All right. So that is our homeboy, Mark Wayne Mullen. Senator Mark Wayne Mullen. We know him famously for pick your butt up. We know him about ready to fight at any minute. But he's expressing his disdain for Matt Gaetz, and still the bad blood is still there in the Senate and the Congress about what's happened with Kevin McCarthy. MD, what are your thoughts on Mark Wayne Mullen just really going for the jugular against Matt Gaetz there?
Again, it shows a dysfunction in the Republican Party. I mean, the five families, they fight. That's what they do. You know what I mean? But usually they fight about policy. Not now they just fight. You know what I mean? Again, conservatism is dead. Like y'all take it as a joke when I say that, but I'm telling you, Donald Trump and the MAGA Republicans are still in the life force from the Republican Party. That's just what it is. And it's down to minuscule topics at this point. Minuscule stuff that we as the American people really shouldn't care about. You know what I mean? If you did something unethical or criminal, it should be dealt with accordingly. But it's not, because the situations are being used as political theater. That's where we at with it right now. And it's sad. You know what I mean? That's why I said real Republicans should be up in arms about this whole situation. If you consider yourself a real conservative, your fight right now should be doing everything in your power to get rid of these people. That should be your fight. Not being reactionary to Democrats. Not talking about Taylor Swift and the Super Bowl and stuff like that. Your fight should be with every fiber of my being. I need to get rid of any trace of Donald Trump and his code, because now the cesspool has been created, and it ain't the Republican Party that I grew up with. You know what I'm saying? So again, more example of the outright dysfunction within the Republican Party, and it's sad. It's sad at this point. I don't know what else to say. Like the MAGA maniacs, they don't know if they're going left or right because they don't know who to root for and who to boo because it changed every week. You know what I'm saying? Mike McCarthy, get him out of here. Yeah. Then old Mark Wayne. Who should I go with next? You know what I mean? It's like you're trying to put somebody over. It's like wrestling at this point.
Yep.
You know what I
Politics
mean?
is a lot like wrestling right now. What do you think, Ricardo, about Mark Wayne Mullins' comments on Matt Gaetz?
I mean, it's this week has been a very popcornish week. Like to grab your popcorn, like we're going after that. What's that dude that was like he said he was like Brazilian, and is it Santos? And then now we have this one, and then it's like the dysfunction is so real with the GOP right now. I can't even figure out where they're at. Like years ago, you'd have told me this would be more the Democrats than the Republicans. I would have laughed at you and be like, "Yeah, no." Um, this whole Matt Gaetz and McCarthy and like what happened to this class of people that were what you call it in. They're so like all over the place. Like I can't pinpoint how we came to this dysfunctionality on their part. It's sad though to watch. Like it's like a train wreck waiting to happen, but we can't look away from it. Um, and MD, just to not to sidebar, but did you know that Donald Trump at the end of the Super Bowl is like, I don't know if he was trying to get in good favor with Mahomes and the Taylor Swift fans, but it's like he had to acknowledge the fact that, because you remember he kept talking bad about, even the Republican side. I guess they had to sucker up to the fact that these people that they claim were like so and so and so are really that powerful. Like the fan base, I think they said this was the most watched Super Bowl in history because of the amount of people that tuned
Yeah.
in on account of
And the amount of ways that you could watch it.
right. So
Yeah.
if he wasn't terrified of the Taylor Swift fans or Taylor Swift herself when it comes to her influence going into the election, he should be terrified now, because that's what the NFL has been banking on this whole time, and it ended up being work into their favor because that's pretty much what they got, the bankability of Taylor Swift and Mahomes.
Well, Vivek said that the NFL is scripted. I made a comment in the group chat the other night during the Super Bowl. I said it was scripted, but I wasn't thinking of it in that way. You know what I mean? Vivek said on Twitter that the NFL was scripted. The Kansas City Chiefs won because the call was made because of the whole Taylor Swift situation. And now Taylor Swift is about to get ready to endorse Biden. That's what he said.
You remember Republicans were complaining that in sports that we don't want no politics in our sports. Stop kneeling in the anthem and all this other stuff, right?
Yeah.
Now we're taking those sports and we're pushing politics onto sports. It's just crazy. We just went through this. We just went through this stuff.
Yeah.
And they're literally doing the opposite now, where they're forcing politics onto sports. Why the hell are they even worried about Taylor Swift? I mean, it's ridiculous.
Hell, they got mad. They got mad because they sung "Lift Every Voice and Sing" before the game. They mad at that now.
We're upset at the fact you can't read this up. You really
can't do anything now.
But that was
hey,
put in place.
Real quick before you go, Ricardo. Real quick, you mentioned Santos. You know his seat is up for election today.
Oh, yeah.
Just to give a quick update. Right now, Tom Susie, the Democrat, is up 65% right now.
Oh wow!
On the Mazzy Pillar, which is the Republican. So the Democrats about to gain a seat.
Damn.
Yep. It just keeps happening with the Republicans. It's just I don't know. I've never seen a party just try to lose. It just doesn't seem like it.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with the Republican Party, man. I'm gonna need them to get it together though, because this is not like them. If y'all need to eat a Snickers, because this, when they say this, you're hungry, Eat a Snickers, Republican Party, but y'all need to get it together because this is not a good look for none of y'all. It really is not. This is troubling to watch. Really and truly,
It
it is.
is. It is. It is. It's a sideshow every week. Every week there's some loony thing happening. I just don't understand why we can't have just straight on policies politics. And that's another thing too. If you watch Donald Trump's rallies, it's never about a policy. It's always about some circumstantial story. He's always talking about something that isn't about politics or isn't about policies. It's just weird. And they just
It's the
sit
same
there and
old
eat
stuff.
it up.
Same old stuff. Drill, baby, drill. Build a wall, and all the other slogans. You know what I mean? You don't never hear no policy behind it. But
None
the matter
whatsoever.
is
There's
that they
there's
eat
no
it up.
ideas. There's no ideas. There's no nothing. No plans. No anything. All right. So we're just about at the end of the show now. So we'll give our last words. So we'll go to Ricardo first, then MD. Ricardo, do your final sign off. Ricardo?
I'm still here. Sorry about that. What was it?
Okay. I thought you got disconnected again.
No, I'm still here. Um, so, yeah. Any my final thoughts? Yeah, just a whole bunch of stuff been happening, and I can't keep up with the melodrama of what has come about since this whole week. But I will say this: from Epstein coming down to the connection of DT and his mega crowd and the blindfolds that they're putting on, I expect better. I expect
Went out again.
Ricardo?
still here. Sorry about that.
Oh, okay.
I need people to know going into the important pivotal months that are ahead when it comes to this election, we need to start doing our homework and due diligence and not be caught up in propaganda and the machine that it is and the media. I need people to start doing their homework and knowing how to differentiate between BS and a whole bunch of things that we're gonna be bombarded with. I just need people to start, standing or seeking out the truth is the most important thing. Alternative facts is not going to help us when we see facts or anything laid out in front of us. Like my Angelo says, if the person presents themselves for the first time, believe them, and we've been seeing that ever since. So there's only so much that you could believe at this point. The facts are there. Do your due diligence and just go with that because you're going to be bombarded by propaganda, and now is not the time to fall for the rhetoric of nonsense. We need to get ready to vote, and the most pivotal decision for this country in November is going to come about, and we all have to make that choice when we go in that booth to vote. So I need people to start doing their homework and getting ready to make the most pivotal, important vote that this country will need. I appreciate everybody listening in for Tape Fist Politics. MD Van Cat, our twin, Mr. Straight Talk. Good work, and look forward to next week.
All right. Thank you, Ricardo. And MD, you going to do your final sign off?
Yeah. As always, man, great show. Great topics. Shout out to everybody that was in the comment section. Hey, look, real quick, I'm gonna make a request. Maria G, I need to have a discussion with you. I don't. It's hard to gauge like which angle you coming from. I'm gonna start calling you Black Daughter is what I'm gonna start calling you. Not Black
Black
Son. I'm gonna
what?
start calling you Black Daughter is what I'm gonna start calling because you got some wonky takes on some stuff. I might have to have a deep dive with you, and we're gonna have to come to a conclusion on some of these takes you got. But as always, man, like I said, good show. Looking forward to the next one. I guess side note, there won't be a wrestling with reality tomorrow, as Trevor pointed out. So we'll see y'all next week. next Tuesday, Take Fix Politics.
Right. And I was thinking about, we are in the month of February, Black History Month. So this probably would be a good time next week to do part 2, if you guys want to do it, of the politics in black politics. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
If you want to do that one.
Most definitely.
So then we could, so we could do that next week. And then after that, then we could do the church one. And it'll be on fire. Any other words, RMD?
No, that's it, man. Again, great show. See y'all next week.
Okay. All right. So I'd like to thank everybody, of course, on the panel, MD, Ricardo, Mike, Trevor. I'd like to thank the chat, Maria G, who hopefully we can get her on the panel one day, because her and MD got to have it out. We got to have that moment.
Discussion with her.
We got to have that moment. So, what's this? I'm black, y'all. I'm black, y'all.
I'm bliggity black, and I'm black, y'all. Not just black, bliggity black.
So Trevor's already ready for it. It's just crazy. It's gonna be fun, just like the last one. So thank everyone. Tequila, making sure Tequila is okay, and just want to say a shout out to Tequila. I hope everything is well there. Thanks to Bones, thanks to Zay, everyone else in the Straight Talk Society, Nini. Next week, there's gonna be Man Talk Monday and Monday, and then after Man Talk Monday, at about 9 p.m. It's going to be a tribute show for my brother who passed away in 2020. He was a silent assassin, rapper, producer, and all kinds of artists, whatever. And it's going to be like an hour tribute or dedication show. So it'll be nice if everyone could tune in and support the channel. And
I'm looking forward to that. Hey, let me say, man, again, like I said, I'm not from Florida. I'm not connected to y'all that way. Today, for the first time, I took heed to what Trevor said, and I went to the YouTube channel, and I sat here and I played Soul in Need, fire. The whole mix from beginning to end, I played it, and I feel a connection, because that's the type of music that I like. So I'm looking forward to the tribute show next week.
All right. Appreciate it, MD. Appreciate it. So we'll see everyone next week. We're going to have part 2 to the politics in black. And it's going to be another spirited show as it was last time in the first part. So for my panelists, MD, Ricardo, Mike, Trevor, everyone else on the Straight Talk Society, I'd like to say good night, and we'll see you next week. Peace.
Peace out.
Peace.
She just said a terrible thing. You know what she said? Shout it out, because I don't want to. Okay, you're not allowed to say, and I never expect to hear that from you again. She said, I never expect to hear that from you again. She said he's. That's terrible. Terrible.